Today's guest has studied ancient wisdom to achieve modern health.
People think they don't care about health until they have a health problem, and then that health problem is all they care about. And so we can fix these things by learning from our ancestors and combining it with...
A kid from Santa Cruz, California, he was selling drugs in high school to make money, but after the death of his father and the collapse of his own health, he was forced to rebuild everything from scratch.
When I talk about these things like a stretching routine or like the posture stuff, I truly believe like that stuff saved my life when my dad was dying. People just let things in their life completely break them. My dad's death did not break me, but I was able to use it for pure fuel and to make him proud.
Today, he educates millions online about the hidden dangers of our health system and builds science-backed formulas to help others transform their health.
Crumbl cookie, a lot of their cookies have 1,000 calories or more. When something pops off on social media, there's no thought about what that actually does to our health. It's just like consume and post it.
In this episode, we'll explore the biggest misconceptions in today's food industry, unveil the ancient secrets modern medicine ignores, and expose why the most profitable business model in the world is making you sick.
It doesn't matter how much money you have if you're watching this. I can give you easy supplements you can take, easy foods that you can eat. You're going to be able to listen to this episode, turn it off, and...
Brendan, welcome to the Jack Neel Podcast.
Thank you, man. Excited to be here.
Santa Cruz. You said the medical system is designed to keep you chronically unhealthy. But if you look back at our ancestors, it hasn't always been this way. Why is the modern diet making us sick?
So when I got my degree in anthropology, you study various tribes, hunter-gatherer tribes. And this is where you and I come from. So this isn't when we talk about our ancestors, it's not your great-grandma, it's not your great-great-grandma. We're talking 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago. Our history as Homo sapiens is rich, and you start to learn a lot about it in anthropology and in medical anthropology. And what we clearly find by looking at these hunter-gatherer societies, and there still are some today that we can study, they don't have obesity. There was an anthropologist that went to an island where he was a dermatologist and an anthropologist. He said there's no acne. They don't have a word for it. None of the teens have acne. What's going on here? What is going on is the modern food system and the things we ingest and the ways we live are causing the most prevalent illnesses today. Obesity, diabetes, depression, anxiety, skin conditions, colon cancer. These are things that plague us, and they cause some of the biggest issues in our life because people think they don't care about health until they have a health problem, and then that health problem is all they care about. And so we can fix these things by learning from our ancestors and combining it with what we know with science today, and that's what I try to do.
For everyone that's watched podcasts before or listened to health experts, like I saw a YouTube video recently, I watched 1,000 health experts on podcast. Like, here's the best advice. What do you think, Brennan, that people can get on this podcast that they won't be able to find anywhere else?
I think what people can get today is actual usable stuff that they can use in their life. It doesn't matter how much money you have if you're watching this. I don't go the Brian Johnson route where you need to have, 20 to 30K a month to really be able to enact a lot of his protocols. I can give you stuff that you can do for free. I can give you easy supplements you can take, easy foods that you can eat. You're going to be able to listen to this episode, turn it off, and benefit your health immensely.
So 60% of Americans live with chronic disease. Why do corporations want to make us sick?
So I think the biggest issue in terms of people say, oh, corporations want to make you sick. Corporations want to make money. And when we talk about the modern health system, the biggest issue going on today are these health insurance companies. Now, people like to say they are evil. We saw that guy shoot the CEO in the head, and I get why people get super frustrated at these companies. But in terms of just like health optimization, what's going on is we have access currently to so many different type of lab tests that you can do to benefit your health that are incredible. There's one, for example, called the GI map test. You can sequence every single thing going on in your gut microbiome. You can look at all your bacteria. You can see if you have any parasites. You can clearly see a picture of what's going on in your gut. The problem is if you go to your doctor after this episode and you say, you know what, I'm feeling okay. Maybe I've had a little bit of gut issues. I want to optimize my health. Can you get me this GI map test? They will say no. Why do they say no? If that doctor decides for some crazy reason, you know what, I like Jack, let me give him this test. The insurance companies will go back at him and they'll go, we just gave a healthy 20-something-year-old a GI map test. You can't do that. It's not in their scope. First of all, they might not know about it. Second of all, you can't give a healthy person that test. So it's a disease care model. And if you did get that test, you could see something on there like H. pylori. H. pylori is a negative bacteria in your gut. It's extremely common. And what happens if you have high levels of H. pylori, it can lead to stomach ulcers, and then it leads to stomach cancer. So this thing could be eliminated very simply early on in somebody's life. Or they're coming into the doctor and they're like, I have severe stomach pain. They go, you have a stomach ulcer. It's just, we're catching people too late.
So you think the medical system is largely designed to treat people who are already sick and not prevent it, and like kind of have you check on your health beforehand? I guess on a broader scale, I'm not sure how much you know about all this, but like, is it this cycle? Like I see these posts about how big pharma is linked with like the medical system, with the insurance companies, with the fast food industry, with like the people who make the health regulations for food that could be in grocery store. Like, is this all linked together? Like, how much do you care about this part of it?
I care tons about this. So yes, the whole system is linked together and it is conspiring against you. However, I don't believe that it's a bunch of people in a room smoking cigars going, how can we make America as unhealthy as possible? What I believe is happening is there's clear evidence of people going from the FDA to working for a fast food company, from working from Coca-Cola to being involved in policy on public health. Those are clear conflicts of interest. And when we look at, the SNAP program, EBT, one of the most commonly purchased things is Coca-Cola. Well, when you look into the details on it, who was on the boards of these companies that make these decisions and allow Coca-Cola products to be bought with food stamps, American taxpayer money? An executive that used to be at Coca-Cola. That's a clear conflict of interest. When we look at why Coca-Cola and soda is available in public schools, you'll also see these type of conflicts. And it's a revolving door. So again, it's just people trying to make money and capitalize on selling you shit. And they don't care about your health. That's not what they're there to do. They're there for shareholder value, to try to sell you something that is addicting. We know processed sugar has addicting properties. And then, yes, they do have the solution for you if you have depression, if you have anxiety. They have a pill that they say works. Doesn't.
That's interesting. So what would you prescribe as like a broad solution to all this? Because I think back to when I was younger in school, like there was the like Michelle Obama programs that would basically made our food taste like shit, but it was supposedly healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think it's education is the solution? Do you think we should have a similar system to like, I don't know, the UK or Australia where they don't allow certain ingredients in their food? Like, what do you think actually makes people healthier?
I think the thing that makes people healthier is education. People have to want to be healthy, then they have to know what to do to be healthy. That's really what's going on. But the simple stuff of like, I've gone viral for Red 40. I hate Red 40. It's an artificial food diet. It's in a lot of products, and there's Blue 1, there's Yellow 5. These additives are dumb. They are just there to make a soda that is clear, bright yellow. And you could use natural alternatives. Turmeric can make something orange. Chlorophyll can make something green. And these things have benefits to us. And then people like to debate the intricacies of Red 40, and it's like, okay, but why? Why is it in our food? If something, in my opinion, if something might be bad for me and it's very easy to avoid and there are alternatives, then I'm going to avoid that because I look at the stats. Colon cancer is up 126% in people under the age of 40. That's concerning. So I'm not going to hedge my bets on something that hasn't been studied, is a new addition. I just choose to not consume that.
I guess maybe in your own life. Because as someone who makes content, I feel like I've seen culture shift in real time with someone like Clavicular pop up talking about Looksmaxxing. And I feel like there's a large group of men my age, maybe younger, that think like looks are the most important thing. But maybe that's just because it's seen as cool. Like, do you think health is just something that has to be seen as cool again?
Well, I mean, looks are very important, 100%. And this is why I think, Clavicular is getting very popular right now. He is stating something on a broad scale that's 100% true, and everybody believes. How you look is important. And how I started getting into health is because I wanted to look good. I wanted to fix my skin. It was a vain thing. And that's what got me into health. And then you learn more and more and you start to feel better and better. And now as I get older, I think what a lot of these young Looksmaxxers can't see, and the people that are doing intense stuff to their body can't see, is where I'm at now. I'm 33 years old. This stuff does start to matter less in terms of like, I am not as worried about how I look. Okay. And I am worried about my long-term health. I have concerns about my long-term health that I try to better from my day-to-day actions. And a lot of people in that community say, well, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I want to look good. I want to be jacked. And I don't really care if I die at age 40. I'm 33 years old. I can tell you 100% you're not going to want to die at age 40. If you even live a decent life, there is no way you're going to be like, yeah, I'm cool with just getting a heart attack right now and carry me out. So it's sort of short-sighted, I think. But yeah, looks are important.
Yeah, I will say personally, I think health matters more as you age. Like I mean, I'm 24 years old and I feel completely different as to when I was 18 years old. You know, like you could, I don't know, I could have 2 glasses of whiskey or like 2 beers or something now and like feel like shit the next day. But when I was 18, it was like no big issue. I'm sure that just the older you get, the more you have to be super hyper focused in on your health. But so you mentioned that ancient cultures and some modern tribes have 0 cases of acne, diabetes, or heart disease. Like, what is it about those ancient tribes that made them so healthy? Not the things that they didn't have, but maybe the things that they were doing.
Absolutely. So the reason we see tribes with very low incidences of obesity, diabetes, skin conditions, a lot of the things that plague us today, it, number one, comes down to their diet and what they're eating. So it is 100% true that they prioritize animal protein. Organs are very frequently consumed. Starchy tubers, stuff like sweet potatoes, we see a lot. There's always some source of carbohydrate, rice, whatever it is. There are veggies consumed. I'm not a whole plant defense chemical guy. I don't think you can rationally say to avoid vegetables, even if you're taking an anthropological point of view, because our ancestors did eat veggies. It's fair to say they weren't preferred. But when it comes down to the diet that they eat, when we look at the future of medicine, it's going to be in gut health and in mitochondrial health. And so when you live similar to how your ancestors lived, and what I mean by that is eating real food that comes from the earth, having good circadian biology, which our ancestors had that we are absolutely cooking nowadays. And your circadian biology is built into your biological reward mechanism so deeply that if you try to avoid it, you are going to get issues. So watching, your TV at night, you're cooking yourself with blue light. And there's things you can do. You can get those orange tinted glasses. Those do actually have some value. But circadian biology and circadian rhythms are so important, and they had it dialed in perfect. Because darkness helps stimulate a whole process of melatonin secretion, which is involved with testosterone, which is involved with your immune system. And then when you have light in the morning, you get a good cortisol release, and you start to basically have this cascade of beneficial neurotransmitters. And this is how we're supposed to run as human beings. We've completely hijacked that, and it's not looking good for our health. The more blue light we have at night, it's not good. And I think that's actually the problem with your generation more than anything. Sleep issues. It's like if you scroll at night and then you just put your phone away, it's not just the scrolling. It's not just the dopamine that everyone kind of knows about and talks about. It's actual light going into your eyes. It's telling your body to stop producing melatonin. You're not going to get actual deep sleep if you have that habit.
Yeah, I recently had a guy who's trained in hypnotism on the podcast, and I found it interesting that people are the most susceptible to, being programmed or manipulated, like when they're sleep deprived. And it seems like we have an entire sleep deprived generation being built by just using your phone 15 minutes before you sleep. It's just like
100%.
I'm sure messing it up a lot. Besides food, and besides sleep, is there anything else they did that we don't?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big sense of community and, physical activity. I think that's super important. And I feel like the young generation is missing out on community more than ever. You should have a good group of friends around you. And you can go find this. You can go find this through sports. You can go find this through different activities. You sort of have to have that. When we look even more into the modern studies on the blue zones and we see people live past 100 years old, a big aspect of that is community. They feel like their relationships matter. And people just don't have that anymore. We have a lot of fractured families. We have a lot of friend groups that just sort of communicate online mostly. We are, again, biologically wired to sit face to face, to have human touch, to have connection, and to feel like our relationships matter. And if you miss out on that or try to just do all the, the biohacking stuff, but you don't have people around you that you love and love you back, there's going to be something missing right here, and that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it seems hard to do with the other stuff if people don't have that intrinsic motivation of like people they're connected with.
Yeah.
Why did ancient tribes have perfect teeth when they didn't have dentist or fluoride?
Yeah, so a lot of hunter-gatherer tribes, it's well described that they have really good jaw development, straight teeth. There was a dentist, Dr. Weston A. Price, that went and researched this in depth, and his book is extremely extensive. And what he noted was high levels of vitamin K2 from the diet, which appears to be involved in how your teeth form and your jaw develops from when you are a child. So dietary sources of vitamin K2, you can look towards real dairy. Fermented dairy is an excellent source. Fish, meat, foods like that are real foods are going to help your jaw development and your actual teeth development. And, also chewing. Like, we don't chew stuff anymore. I saw a dude eating a steak on a video. He's like, oh, it's like tough I don't like steak because it's tough to chew. Like, you're cooked. You're a different species at this point if you can't chew a steak. That's that can also help with now there's people selling gums and stuff that like mastic gum, which I think is pretty cool, where you can sort of chew that and sort of simulate a lot of that to develop the masseter muscles and stuff like that. But yeah, if you have really good nutrition from when you are a baby and, young child, your jaw and teeth development will be better.
So people aren't chewing enough. That's really interesting. Would you say that's like the main thing that, like, when I read that about the, like they had perfect teeth. Like, what do you think that means? Does that mean like straight teeth? Does that mean healthy teeth and gums? Like, what is that?
It means healthy teeth with enough space for the jaw and airway development. So if you look at like the photos in Weston A. Price's book, you're not going to see beautiful movie star teeth, but you are going to see teeth that maybe if they had a little bit of cleaning with modern day tools. That's why you got to combine both ancestral wisdom with modern day, science and stuff that works. Then you would have some amazing perfect teeth. The problem with crowding and like malocclusion is a big thing of it is nutrition. So when you don't have the proper vitamins and minerals, the body just appears to just degrade in many ways. And one of those is actual jaw development. So it's very important.
Interesting. Yeah, this is either, I'll just ask you about it. Just like the whole wisdom teeth thing. Like, why do we get our wisdom teeth out? Because I've read it's like because our ancestors like had bigger jaws and we don't need them anymore. But that just doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, there's a whole field of like biological orthodontics and like all these amazing people who some of them basically think it's done way too much, that people are getting their wisdom teeth taken out. It's just an industry, right? Where people are like, you need to get them taken out. Everybody does. And it appears that's not really the case. Now, there could be issues where people, like you're saying, don't have enough space because of all the jaw issues, and maybe they do need to get them taken out. But I think, like many things, like SSRIs and anti-anxiety meds, it is something that is way over-prescribed, and it'll probably be looked back on as like, oh shit, like we messed a lot of people up.
Interesting. Did you get your wisdom teeth out?
I did, and I'm mad about it.
You're mad about it?
Put them back in. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I mean, like,
you got them put back in.
Yeah. Some gold ones in the back, yeah.
What's one ancient health practice that modern science is just now beginning to validate and be like, we were wrong, that was like the right thing to do?
Yeah, an ancient health practice that's being brought back is fire. And we're talking about circadian biology again. So what I do at night in my house is when the sun sets, it's a different lighting scheme in my house. So next to my bed, I have like a beeswax candle, non-toxic candle. We have these special lights that emit more of a red orangish hue, and they are lamps that come off the ground and they're low. So during the day, I don't mind having overhead lighting. I'm stimulating my cortisol. There is like, light because the sun is up in the sky. That's how our body adapted. Now, fire emits a lot of red light. Everyone's talking about red light lately, all these red light therapy devices and all that. But why that is so beneficial is red light doesn't cause the suppression of melatonin. So when you have candles around the house at night, these reddish orangish bulbs coming off the ground instead of from above, you can really dial in your circadian rhythm and sort of mimic this longer sunset. I get everybody's living in the modern world. the sun sets at like 5 p.m. right now in California. I'm not going to go to sleep. We're here. Like it's 4. But when I get home, I'm going to sort of simulate that by having my lighting set up at home. Up until not that long ago, we could look up when lighting actually hit. There was a mention of light bulb, but then once it hit everybody and was in every single household, you immediately start to see sleep issues, insomnia skyrocket. And it's so simple, but yet now we can sort of scale back and remember, okay, what are we supposed to intake in terms of light? And we can replicate that.
It's almost New Year's by the time this podcast will be released. If you had to prescribe one thing for people to do for New Year's resolutions, do you think it would be with their sleep, or what aspect of health would it be in?
For a New Year's resolution, you see the gyms full New Year's, right? Everybody starts to go in and they're so, this is going to be my time. And then in 2 weeks, it's dead. It's ridiculous, honestly. It's kind of sad. Like you see all these people, then they vanish. I think the best thing somebody could do for a New Year's health resolution is a morning stretching and hydration routine. Every single person can do this. I'm offering you guys up something right now that costs no money. I like to do my electrolytes and water in the morning, but you could just start by putting a pinch of salt and some good water in the morning, go outside, drink that, and then either outside or inside, do a 10-minute stretching and mobility routine. I have one that I do. It's, I've posted it before. Figure it out. Some foam rolling, some stuff that feels good. If you have an old injury, start to do some mobility and corrective exercise on that. You get the body moving, you get hydrated. I've done ones that are 5 minutes, and I do one every day that's like 10 minutes. It is 10 minutes of your day. If you're watching this, especially if you're young, you can't tell me that you don't have 10 extra minutes in the morning. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. I have this routine, and I've been doing it for the last over a decade now, and I do it everywhere. Everywhere. If I'm traveling, I still do it. It's so easy to do, and it dials in your day in a deep way. And every single person can do it.
If I'm someone who doesn't stretch ever, doesn't get movement, like what does my life look like in 10, 20 years if I never stretch?
Yeah, so when I say stretching, I'm talking about, like you're saying, getting your body moving. So if you're someone that doesn't stretch, doesn't move, the craziest thing, talking to experts in joint health, is when we actually articulate a joint, when we move a joint, what our body starts to do is pump something called synovial fluid around that joint capsule. And this synovial fluid transports nutrients. It acts like the oil in your car. And so when you do not articulate a joint and move it through its full range of motion, that synovial fluid doesn't wrap fully around the joint. So anybody can look up, there's this guy, Dr. Andrea Spina, and he popularized these things called controlled articular rotations. You can look up FRC, controlled articular rotations, and he shows you how to move every single joint in your body through a whole range of motion. And it's so easy to do. You can do it anywhere. And this starts to pump that synovial fluid into the joint capsule. So if you don't move, if you don't stretch, if you're someone that's very stagnant, even if you just are very still through the whole day and then you get up and you rush into your workout, you have not revved up your engine. You don't have oil in your engine. Okay, so like you're just missing out. And even if you're eating well and doing all this stuff, like you're not actually getting the actual nutrients like around like the shoulder capsule. So it's very crucial to do.
Quick one. Did you know that Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app? And with football and basketball season upon us, there is no better time to join them right now. The app is really easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats. That's it. But now on Prize Picks, on top of picking players like they have for years, you can now pick teams and even culture events. Just pick who you think will win the big game, who will win the fight, and even the total and spread. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. So if you want your $50 in lineups, just go to jackneel.com/picks. You can also scan the QR code on screen or hit the first link in the description. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast. But what are the negative effects? Or what do you suspect maybe is like the negative effects of someone who's sedentary on their phone all day? Maybe they go to the gym for an hour, but they don't do any stretching before.
Yeah, if you're that type of person that's just at work all day or even just at school and you're just here all day and you don't do any mobility, any stretching, and you just kind of rush into the gym, get it done. There's going to be tons of negative effects on your body. Like the number one thing is posture. Everybody's posture is so cooked, and it's amazing the Looksmaxxing community hasn't talked about this more. They do talk about it some, to give them some credit there. But we are here so much. This is a depressed posture. If you take away the phone, what does this look like? Does this look like I'm happy and I'm going to have low anxiety? I'm going to be happy? No. When we look at the motions of children, when kids score a goal in soccer, what do? Here. They're here. That's what happens naturally. And people don't go into any of these postures. And there's people that have written whole books about this stuff. Your posture does dictate your mood. And if you don't put yourself into any of those confident positions, the body just gets stagnant and stuck. And I believe emotions get stored in the body and eventually lead to disease.
Not stretching is making you depressed in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's really fascinating. I would believe that because there's a lot of information on like power posing and like being wide and all this.
Your fascia stores data. That's like your actual muscle fascia stores data. And when you are tense all the time, you haven't moved it, you can't even communicate with it. You're also at a greater risk of injuries. So like we were talking about like jiu-jitsu, you're like, jiu-jitsu's hard. I felt like a little injured. It's like when you're very in tune with your body, you experience less injuries. Everybody can get injured in jiu-jitsu, getting crushed by some, 300-pound purple belt or whatever it is. But you're just more in tune with your body. It just functions better.
I didn't have this down, but I was looking into this last night. You seem like someone who might have researched it a bit. Have you heard about like this phenomenon of, I don't know, say a deer's running or an antelope's running through the woods and a tiger tries to eat it and then it like barely survives and then it gets on the ground and just starts like seizing and like starts shaking. And then afterward, like it's perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. Like, have you read about this and like how humans should be doing this? It's like some type of like seismic vibration. I can't remember the exact name.
I don't know. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
You would find it really interesting. It's like humans are supposed to shake more and they like intentionally like hold themselves back from that. And
I have seen, there's a lot of like in like a lot of mobility routines, like bouncing up and down, like shaking stuff out. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff with that, but I don't know too much about that in depth.
Interesting. And then why do ancient tribes have flawless skin? Is that just a diet thing?
So when we look at photos of these hunter-gatherer tribes, it's actually one of the things in my medical anthropology class that blew my mind because I'm sitting there in college, still with acne at 20-something years old, and I'm looking at these tribes and they have beautiful, flawless skin. And this isn't just one tribe. This is, across different, we're looking at tribes in Brazil, we're looking at tribes in Africa, different areas. So the reason this is, you can look up the gut-skin axis. There is a direct connection between your gut microbiome and the health of your skin. And these tribes have very diverse gut microbiome. They eat fermented foods. They don't have a lot of the processed additives that we have in our food supply. And this, combined with good endocrine health and good circadian biology, leads to good skin health. And immediately, like, I went down the rabbit hole after seeing these photos and I started to look up, okay, like, let's look at the work of this doctor who went to the Kitava Islands, Dr. Stefan Lemberg, and let's see what he did. He was a dermatologist and he lived on this island and he did hundreds of dermatology evaluations on this tribe, and they don't have a word for acne, they don't have acne. And he concluded it's because of the food. When you start to have this Western processed food, something happens. Either it's inflammatory pathways, it could be hormonal, it could be sort of a mixture of both that causes acne. And I started to sort of eat more of this ancestral diet and eat a lot of these foods that these tribes love. And my acne went away. And this is one of the things that really inspired me because people just deal with this issue so much. You just see it. It ruins some people's lives. And it really made me passionate about health because I'm like, when you learn something like that, you're like, you want to yell it from the rooftops.
What would you say are like the main things causing the acne though?
Yeah, I think the main things causing the acne are...
And like, what is acne? It's like has to be like some body, like the body's response to protect you from X thing, or it's like the body releasing toxins. Like, how would you describe it?
There's various types of acne. There's ones that are more bacterial on the skin, and then there's ones that are, well, they're all bacteria in the skin, but there's ones that are sort of lay on the outer layer of the skin, and there's ones that are more hormonal. But any like health issue like this, when we look at any like dermatological issue, eczema, psoriasis, acne, it's the body trying to show you something. Your skin is your body's largest organ. So it's not separate from you. And modern day dermatology often tries to get people in and look at the skin as some separate thing. Look at the brain as some separate thing with mental health. You are one. You are one thing. Your health is one thing. So the skin is trying to show you something. And with acne, what we see, I think, a lot of in the Western world is your gut is supposed to have these sort of tight junctions. So when you eat something, your gut is meant to digest that food and not let anything out, okay? It's supposed to be like a closed system through the colon, and you excrete. Now, these junctions can get damaged, and a lot of people think it's excess gluten consumption. It could be alcohol. It could be antibiotics. It could be a mixture of everything, right? And we give kids a lot of antibiotics. I'm not against antibiotics, but they're overprescribed. And then you mix that with a little bit of gluten consumption at every single meal. I'm not against gluten. I like eating it sometimes, but we're eating it at every single meal, okay? And then these junctions basically get broken up a little bit. And now food particles start to enter the bloodstream, and your body can recognize that as basically an attack on your immune system. And it can start to elevate levels of inflammatory cytokines, which can lead to acne. And this is well described in so many papers. It's called the gut-skin axis. And the frustrating part is dermatologists don't really tell people about this. There are amazing studies that you can read on PubMed of something as simple as giving somebody vitamin B5, reduce acne lesions. There's photos of a woman in the study, significant acne before. You're talking a few weeks of just vitamin B5, basic supplement, costs pennies, okay? Like literally. And her skin looks so much better. And it's like 8 weeks after. There's studies on a combination of magnesium and fish oil benefiting the skin immensely. So now you think in your head, what if I did this all? What if I took magnesium, took some cod liver oil, took a good methylated B supplement, started to eat well, started to look into repairing those tight junctions in my gut? I guarantee you, in a couple weeks, if you really stick to that, your skin will be a lot better.
So it's more so about the supplements you're consuming and the nutrients you're getting rather than, I guess, rubbing some skin formulation on your face. So like is CeraVe lotion bad for your skin?
I wouldn't say CeraVe lotion is bad for your skin. I think a lot of these skincare protocols that are pushed on people are useless when you're having reoccurring acne and you aren't getting to the root cause. Why aren't we getting to the root cause? The modern day dermatology industry goes, you have acne. Let me give you something to rub on your acne. Instead of asking, why are you getting acne? You know, like this needs to be answered. So if we have our hunter-gatherer ancestors, which we just described, and there's modern day records of dermatologists going out and living with them and going, these people don't have acne. Guess what they don't have? A skincare routine. They literally violate the rules of modern day dermatology. They have dirt on their skin. Okay? They have not washed their face. Not oh, they haven't washed their face in 2 weeks. They haven't washed their face with anything but water. Okay? So me personally, all I use on my skin is water, and I use a little beef tallow moisturizer. I don't tell people, hey, ditch your whole skincare routine. If you got something that works for you, great. Not saying different products can't work, but if you have reoccurring acne, like not an occasional thing, then you really got to look at the root cause, and the root cause is your health.
So do you ever get acne?
I can get acne if I violate a lot of the rules of my health. So I don't really drink alcohol, maybe once a year. I got one buddy who loves to drink a whiskey with me, and it means something to him emotionally. And like I might have a whiskey with him. Probably Super Bowl will be the next time I'll see him. And I'll have a whiskey with him. I might be susceptible to getting some acne after that if I get really bad sleep. But now the power is in my hands. I know. It's not some confusing random thing like when I was in my 20s and it was getting so frustrating. And I think it's something that frustrates a lot of people. They're like, why is this happening? And then you start to learn like, oh, you can add in, like, there's something called N-acetylcysteine. And I just had a functional medicine doctor on my podcast, and he was talking about all the benefits of this supplement. And one of the big benefits is skin health. And it's so simple. It's so easy. It's honestly easier than having a 10-step, $400 skincare routine that you got to do twice a day. It's like, there are easier things that have other health benefits as well.
So take me back to high school, Brennan. Before you made millions selling supplements, what was your first side hustle?
My first side hustle? I mean, I could take you back farther than that. I have a video with my mom where she's like, this dude would set up lemonade stands like constantly. Like it wasn't like, oh yeah, he's doing a lemonade stand. Like I was on that. I was on that grind outside the house. I've always had an entrepreneurial mind. And that was really the first entrepreneurial endeavor that I went down.
I guess what was the main thing you were doing in high school to make money?
In high school to make money, I mean, I didn't make much money in high school. If you're trying to get into when I started selling weed, it was a little bit after high school.
Tell me about that.
How I got into selling cannabis is I was going to UC Santa Cruz and had a buddy that worked in basically a lab, because by now cannabis, So it was legal in California. There's legal framework around it. And he's like, dude, we have this company. We're making extracts over here. We have, they have the health products. They have lotions and stuff. And that's really what I first got involved with, was these CBD lotions and creams, because I already had a passion for health and sports and stuff like this. And I see athletes using this. So I'm like, okay, let me get involved in this industry. And it was a fascinating industry back then. It's gotten more buttoned up and professional as time has gone on. But back in those days, it was a real run and gun industry. And that's why I encourage a lot of young people to go get into some type of sales position, because it'll teach you so much. It was just, I would leave a factory with a bunch of products and I would go meet with a buyer in San Francisco in some weird cannabis dispensary and sit across from him like this. And my goal was, I need to give this guy this duffel bag of products and I need to leave with a certain amount of cash. And any cash I get more than that, I can keep. So there are negotiation skills that you quickly learn. And the industry it was fun, man. It was a really fun job. It's a crazy job, but it was fun.
How did you go from selling cannabis in college to kind of teaching everyone about health these days?
So as I started to get towards the end of college and I was about to graduate, my same buddy who worked in that lab, who got me involved with that, he comes back one day and he goes, dude, you have to try this. And in there, it's a jar of what looks like just coconut oil. I'm like, what do you got? Coconut oil? Love coconut oil. And he goes, I put 1,000 milligrams of just CBD. So the non-psychoactive part of the plant is CBD. And CBD has a lot of anti-inflammatory benefits. It's where most of the anti-inflammatory benefits of cannabis come from. So we started to take this, and then I started to go on PubMed. I started to research CBD. Amazing studies on it for anxiety, for inflammation. You've probably heard about it, right? A lot of people have. And what we found in the studies is the dosage actually has to be quite high. So the dosage needs to be 300 milligrams is what are in a lot of these studies, 600 milligrams. Okay, so he's like, well, I have 1,000 milligrams of CBD in this coconut oil. And then our friends who are athletes started taking it, stealing it from us, basically. Let me get, the jar would be gone, right? Our friend who fought in the UFC, he'd constantly be taking it. He was like, this is helping my shoulder. And that gave me the idea, we need to sell this. Why are we not selling this? This is an amazing product. We looked at the landscape of all the CBD products out there, and we're like, yeah, we could do well here. So that's when I started Santa Cruz Medicinals with my buddy. Selling CBD coconut oil was the first product. And we went around to these dispensaries in California, and we sold this CBD coconut oil. And that's when I started to sort of learn my passion for it. So right then I was about to go get my master's in public health. That was my plan. You get the degree in anthropology, you get a degree in public health. I'll find some job helping people with their health. I had a huge passion for that. But then I'm like, hold on. You get people coming up to you at these stores that when you're selling the product to them, they're like, this benefited my health. I started taking this. My grandma started taking this. It benefits her arthritis. Thank you so much. The other products didn't work. They were so expensive. And that's when I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to get products out there to people. I want to educate them on their health. And ever since then, I have an immense passion for it. It's what I like to do on and off camera. It's my life.
So that kind of tells me why you transitioned from health into kind of the entrepreneurial world of making and selling your own products. But I guess, what's the most important moment from your childhood or teen years to help us understand why you care so much about health?
Yeah, totally. So when I was in high school, I had two very close friends pass away. And we thought we were the badass kids in high school. We were partying a lot. We were doing drugs. We were drinking. And I was just sort of living that lifestyle. And I had two friends when I was 17 years old pass away. And from then, I realized I need to stop living that life. And then years after that, not that many years after that, I started to see my dad's own demise of his health. Alcoholism, health issues stemming from alcoholism. And I tried so hard to save him. I knew a lot at that time already about health, and I put so much effort into trying to help him. And like so many people watching this right now, they have people in their own life. They know a lot about health. If they're watching this, they're probably into health, and they can't help them. And seeing that right there, it put something deep within me where I'm like, okay, I couldn't save my dad. He ended up passing away. I need to help other people. And so maybe he wouldn't listen to my message fully, I love them, but other people will. And that's why I have just like a deep drive for this, that, it's just, there's no faltering. There's no video anybody can make on me, hating on me. There's nothing. It's on a deeper level.
Your two friends that passed away, what was kind of the situation there?
Yeah. So basically it was a good friend of mine who was a girl and a good friend of mine who was a guy, and they were dating. And the girl get a call one day, and 2 blocks away from my house, she had herself and passed away. And this was very much sort of a drug-induced, I know you're going to have to bleep out the word, but drug-induced. And it sent the guy, my friend, Tommy Kramer, into a spiral. His girlfriend had just left herself. And he died at a later time of drug overdose. I believe it was technically throwing up in his mouth after opioid consumption, and he passed away. And so it was both heavily drug-induced, drugs leading to death. And at the time, I would party with them all the time in this group, and I would do that stuff. I had a group of friends that were more jocks, and they started to not really hang out with me. They're like, "What are you doing? Like, drinking's fine, weed's fine. What are you doing?" And so I sort of had this like fracture in my friend group almost. And so I internally struggled with them. Like, are they right? Nah, I'm just partying. I'm having a good time. But that clearly led me to be like, this could end horribly. It could end at all. So it got me out of that, luckily. But I had friends that witnessed that, and they didn't stop. And they went the other route. And some of their lives have been tough. And I think it's something a lot of people struggle with. So I'm always happy to talk about it. Like, kids are on drugs, like it's a thing. And, people see me as like this like perfect health guy. Like, oh, it must be so easy for you. Your health is perfect. And I just choose to share these stories because it wasn't always that way. I wasn't always the perfect health guy. I wasn't into health. People come up to me and they say, "This is stupid. You're dumb. Why do health doesn't matter. Why do you eat this way?" And it's just like, they just don't know how good they can feel, or they just don't have the education on how it actually can affect them. So that's what I try to do.
And your father, he passed away a few months after that, or a couple years after that?
Years after that.
And what were you kind of thinking about around that time? Like, was that kind of a rock bottom moment for you, or did you not struggle with it much and you kind of just immediately took action on trying to like fix your own life and take care of your family, that kind of thing? Or
yeah, when my dad died, it was different than when my friends died years before, because I was already into health. I already had health routines, and like when I talk about these like things like a stretching routine or like the posture stuff, I truly believe like that stuff saved my life when my dad was dying, because I'd go through situations where I went through a situation where I took him to Stanford Hospital. He was having a like alcohol induced. He's tried to stop drinking. And when you quit cold turkey like that, you get like alcohol induced like hallucinations, shivers, spasms. And it was brutal, like to watch. Like, had to have him in the hospital. He's having full hallucinations. The ER team is there, and it's just me and him there. And I remember leaving there and going home. And I'm in the bathroom about to shower, and my now wife, my girlfriend at the time, was like, "What are you doing?" It's like laughing at me. And I do this routine when I'm waiting on the water to heat up. Anybody can do this. I smile, I laugh, and it's something I do every day. Now, it seems crazy, right? Like, what are you doing? You can almost feel like the Joker. You're just like, what am I Your body doesn't know the difference. Your body, when you are smiling and laughing, it starts to start this cascade of beneficial neurotransmitters, letting your body know you're okay. It's okay to get out of fight or flight. You can rest and relax now. So your body has that sympathetic and parasympathetic state. And so I'm continuing with my routine. Like, yeah, I want to cry right now. I feel horrible, but I'm going to do my routine. Wake up the next morning, do my stretching routine. And sticking with that stuff, you don't avoid life and avoid emotions, but you're able to deal with them differently. And I think it is an aspect of health, because people just let things in their life completely break them. And so my dad's death did not break me. It's tough. Break some part of you, right? But I was able to use it for pure fuel and to make him proud, which I feel like I have.
So just to kind of summarize what you're saying, like, I guess, what is your current mission today with everything?
Yeah, my current mission today is to educate people on what real health really feels like, what it looks like, and to get people more aware of basic things they can do and complex things they can do to benefit their health.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That thing about the smile. It's a common question I ask people, like on the podcast, is what are the practical steps to reverse negative thoughts? And I really don't get a lot of answers to that. Like, people don't really, they just keep on moving. But I like that answer a lot. That's something practical everyone can do.
It's something easy, yeah.
What would you say you, Santa Cruz, Brennan, are an expert in? Like, what's the thing that like you're absolutely most knowledgeable about, best about, like in the world?
Yeah, I think what I'm an expert in is sort of this basically synthesizing health information. I nerd out on so much health stuff, but I don't know as much about the eyes as Dr. Andrew Huberman. You know, he's an ophthalmologist at Stanford, right? So I don't know as much about the skin as Dr. Teo Soleimani, you know, this expert dermatologist. But I'm so obsessed with health that I listen to all this stuff, and I feel like I'm really able to synthesize it in a way that oftentimes goes viral as well, to be able to actually reach people and get them interested in health. Not a lot of people are going to go listen to a 2-hour podcast like the one I did with Dr. Abood Bakri on testosterone and peptides, right? But they are going to watch a video of Clav and I talking about testosterone and peptides, and that might lead them to be like, you know what, I'm curious about this. What does a doctor have to say about it in a 2-hour interview? So that's what I feel like I'm really good at lately. Obviously, I have the anthropological background, and I nerd out on a lot of the hunter-gatherer ancestry and some of the primal health stuff. But yeah, I would say like lately that I've realized like, wow, like that's really my role, is to somehow I broke through this whole craziness of influencers and what goes viral. Somehow I broke through that preaching health. And that's crazy, because when you look at other influencers and what's out there, I don't see really too much of that. And I was able to sort of break through. And I feel like a lot of the young generation does want to be healthy. They do want to be a good person. And yeah, I was lucky to be able to sort of reach through.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating how, I mean, I've noticed this observing social media for several years, that the person who is kind of the loudest voice doesn't always necessarily have the best intentions, and they might not necessarily be the best at the thing that they're talking about. You know, like, I mean, you even admitted that you're not the health expert in eyes necessarily, but you're much better than like a lot of the health experts in the past. Like, I don't want to say any names, but it like, so there's a mixture of like knowledge and like a mixture of being an expert at marketing. And then there's also like having good intentions as a human. And I feel like you have a really good balance of these things. A good example of this is someone might teach an AI sales course, but in reality, they're just a good marketer and they don't know shit about AI sales, you know? And the reason you're getting that is because of their marketing skills, not because they're an expert in this thing. But yeah, I have... It's not a gift for you. He actually gave me some healthy supplements. But so I have in this bag some of the most commonly purchased products just in stores. And I want you to tell me if they're like, how bad they are for me, if they're good, bad, whatever you think.
Let's do it.
First one is CeraVe Daily Moisturizing Lotion. Tell me about this.
Yep. CeraVe Daily Moisturizing Lotion. So when we look at the ingredients on the back, we see a lot of preservatives like polysorbate 20, polyglycerol 3. We do see some parabens like methylparaben. So my thing with common products like this is why? Why are you using it? Are you getting reoccurring acne? Are you still getting acne after using this? Well, you might want to look at your gut health. You might want to look at your endocrine health. You might want to look at your sleep, your immune function, because that's what makes up your skin health. So something like this, I wouldn't like overly hate on. I don't think this is going to ruin your health, but your skin is your body's largest organ. You do absorb stuff that is put on your skin. And so personally, I would use something with less ingredients and look towards the root cause. But yeah, this one.
It's also like $20. It was the most expensive thing I bought in this whole bag. I was like, That's crazy. But I mean, a lot of people I don't have this issue that bad. I'm saying that I probably have super dry skin right now for some reason. But a lot of people like just do lotion for dry skin. Like, what's the root cause there? Is it just lack of
There's some really
electrolytes, or-
interesting. There's some really interesting stuff with dry skin where people basically say when you use this too often, your skin's like intelligent, and so your body sort of starts to adapt. So when you stop using it, your skin will get dry faster. So I just use like a little bit of beef tallow. Beef tallow skincare has gotten so popular lately. I've been doing it for a long time, and it's just like it's a very tiny amount that I use, and honestly, it's just, like you're saying, this is $20. This is probably doesn't last that long when people have to use it multiple times per day. The beef tallow, you have to use like the tiniest amounts, like a little like finger size amount of it. So yeah, they definitely have a good business model.
Okay, I'll give you another one.
Sweet.
Maybe we'll just throw all these here. I don't want to. This looks like we're sponsoring it at that point. Let's see. How about Pantene shampoo and conditioner? I think this is the most popular for women, maybe.
Oh yeah, Pantene. Yeah, all the hair care products. Yeah.
Do you use shampoo and conditioner?
I actually don't. I just use water on my hair. I mean, shampoo and conditioner. Now there are a lot of brands popping up that are natural. Like when you look at stuff in there like benzyl alcohol, it can sort of be drying for the hair. And then there's artificial fragrance in so many of these products. You can sort of smell it from here, which is low-key crazy. And when you look at some of the artificial fragrances, they can be contaminated with stuff like benzene, which can be a carcinogen. And you're putting this on your hair, which is your scalp, it's your skin. And again, you're absorbing some of these things. And what I like about what you're doing right now, you're showing me the CeraVe, you're showing me this. And a lot of people can say, oh, like the amounts of, the preservatives, the parabens in here, they're so low. They're not going to cause cancer. Well, when 1 out of 2 people nowadays is getting cancer, it makes me really question like, okay, but why? Is there a better alternative that doesn't have those carcinogenic ingredients? Does it work well? Okay, I'll go towards the natural alternative. So like my buddy runs a company, Organic Jaguar. They make a very simple shampoo. We talked about Base Body Works earlier. Base Body Works, it's like how the company started. I was like, yeah, you can make more natural options. Like look at the ingredients and he does a bunch of content on how there's a lot of dish soap ingredients in these normal shampoos. They strip your hair, they strip away all the oils. So yeah, I would not use this.
So I'm guessing same for this one. I'm sure you recognize this one.
Yeah, Head and Shoulders for dandruff, which could literally just be fixed by fixing your gut microbiome because dandruff's like a bacterial issue. And I think a lot of people get dandruff because we heavily chlorinate our tap water in the United States. I think everybody should have a filter on both their drinking water and their shower water. Because,
what kind of filter?
I mean, my buddy makes one, Organic Jaguar shower filter, but for your drinking water, reverse osmosis. And people think that's some bougie thing. No, you can get an RO filter for $200. You're going to
cheaper than water bottles, for sure.
Cheaper than water bottles. And, we chlorinate our water in the United States. It's not a conspiracy, guys. This isn't some conspiracy. They chlorinate the water. They send you the reports. And they do it maybe for a good reason. It might be, if I looked at hey, you need to get 350 million people water. Okay, I might throw some chlorine in there, right? But, there's links with chlorine in kidney cancer. It dries out your skin is an obvious thing. So, yeah, that could be a big reason that people are getting dandruff. Chlorinated water on your head every day. But then you got Head and Shoulders to solve it, so that's good. Oh, they got Blue One in here.
What's Blue One?
Blue One's to make this blue. That's all it is there for. And these artificial food dyes can also be contaminated with benzene, so you're dumping Blue One on your head. It's like people just don't realize how ridiculous this is. They just don't. And then, you'll have some guy in a lab coat, on social media go, well, there's no studies that Blue One is going to cause cancer. It's like, yeah, buddy, but I can just buy a product that doesn't have Blue One. I'm good off that. It just doesn't make sense, but
I feel like people have like carcinogenic fatigue, damn, everything causes cancer. So they just stopped caring about this stuff.
Yeah. California was a big issue with that because we passed Prop 65 and we kind of messed people up because basically it created these levels that were, even for someone who's very, strict with their health, like the levels aren't nearly accurate at all. So it basically made anything that gets sold in California have that Prop 65, this table. I'm sure you peeled one off here when you set it up. It says like, oh, this table contains chemicals known to cause cancer in the state of California. Prop 65 warning.
So what actually causes cancer?
I mean, there's a variety of factors that cause cancer.
Like, what are the main things we're taking or doing? Like, do you think it's like smoking is like the main one? Like,
I would say the main thing that everybody's doing that leads to cancer, like the biggest thing, is alcohol consumption. It's so clear. It is the link between alcohol and cancer is utterly established, and yet people always think liver. You know, with smoking, people think lung. But we had an oncologist on our podcast, Dr. Conneely, and she's like, no, what people don't realize is we see people that drink alcohol and then they get skin cancer. Like, this isn't some closed loop system where it's like the cigarette smoke just goes into the lungs and you get lung cancer. People will say dumb ass stuff to me like, well, my grandpa smoked cigarettes and he never got lung cancer. He did die of skin cancer though. Well, Google the links between cigarette smoking and skin cancer. They're there. So alcohol, cigarette smoking is an obvious one. I feel like most people have come around to that. Although big tobacco is making a big push to make them cool again. Paying influencers to smoke cigarettes or vape.
is that true? It looks that way.
Allegedly, I believe it is. And then I think big tobacco is rebranding themselves big in the nicotine space, pushing a bunch of stuff of Zyn pouches. They're gonna stop Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I should.
Yep.
This is sad that I don't even have to pull it from the CVS bag. But yeah,
you pull the one from your pocket. Okay,
I might do one at the same time just to further the point.
Yeah, go for it. So here's my thing.
What's wrong with these?
This is better for you than vaping or cigarettes. 100% fair statement. My buddy Daddy Wellness does a lot of content about, we did a whole video getting people to quit vapes. And people ask, what about the Zyns? If you're doing this because you feel like you simply cannot go without nicotine, you're quitting cigarettes or vaping, good choice. If you're doing this occasionally, I don't see anything crazy bad with that. What's the reality? It's almost 5 p.m. probably or whatever. You just pop that. You're going to get a release of norepinephrine, adrenaline, dopamine, and you're going to feel locked in and focused. You're getting a major rise in this. It will negatively affect your sleep. You will not go into the same sleep architecture if you didn't have the Zyn versus when you just did.
Isn't the half-life of nicotine like 30 minutes or something though?
Sure, but all of the neurotransmitters that are released that give you that feeling, that is not normal to get at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. People are having these like right before bed.
That's why you need a coffee in the morning. And that's about as far as you should go with it.
Absolutely.
Or maybe one of those in the morning.
Yeah, and then people like to say the stuff of, no, nicotine is a nootropic. It prevents Alzheimer's. Everyone go on ChatGPT right now. That's what all the young kids do. ChatGPT, put it in there. There is no evidence that nicotine prevents Alzheimer's. So
cigars don't boost testosterone either.
I mean, eating an onion boosts testosterone short term. What we care about is actual like rises in testosterone. There's all these studies like chopping firewood with an axe raises testosterone. Like, you have an extremely short term boost that's not actually going to lead to you having like more muscle growth. Like
it's just your adrenals like dumping or something
in
the moment? Okay.
Yeah, so like right now, if you got up and broke all these cameras and then we measured your testosterone, it would actually be higher because it would be like an intense moment. But yeah, so the Zyns overall, I'm not actually like crazy anti them because I don't know somebody's situation. I don't know how often they use them. I don't know if they quit cigarettes and are going towards these, so I don't want to hate on them too much. But it's very fair to me to say that the average, college kid doing 5 or 6 or 7 pouches a day, a lot of them at night, that's negatively affecting your sleep. You're also blunting those dopamine neurons. So like you're constantly stimulating like big dopamine dump, adrenaline dump by having these. I wouldn't be a big fan of that long term for brain health. It's just, and then we look at the rise in colon cancer. There's some cell culture studies showing that nicotine leads to oral cancer. There's some concern about colon cancer. We don't know, is the fair thing to say.
It's definitely a vasoconstrictant, but like I don't really know what that does. Like, does that just make my gums more likely to bleed, or does that make like, what's the issue with?
I don't think we fully know what it's doing for stuff like oral cancer, like putting a vasoconstrictor in your mouth multiple times per day. I don't think we know what that's going to do. I don't think it's ever really been done before in society.
Fair.
So yeah, I mean, there can be uses for them, but overall, I'm good. Like, I'll just take a nootropic,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a few more here. Yeah, Advil. What do you think of Advil?
Advil. So the funny thing with Advil is it just does not work well. and it can reduce your levels of glutathione in your liver, and it can also cause gut damage. So my thing with Advil is like, I would personally rather take like turmeric or something like that. People are taking this stuff mostly for hangovers. This isn't for like intense pain usually that people are popping an Advil for. It's most commonly used for a hangover. And you can do something way better for a hangover. You could take some N-acetylcysteine. It's going to boost your glutathione, which is probably depleted from the night of drinking. You can drink some water with electrolytes because you're probably depleted in electrolytes. You could have some B vitamins through a food like egg yolks because you're probably a little bit low in choline and some of those B vitamins. So there's better solutions out there. People just really buy the image of Advil of, I have a headache. What will make it go away? Bright red pill. Do they have red 40 in Advil? Wouldn't be surprised.
So is that your hangover routine when you drink once a year?
Yeah, I mean, among other things, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do for a hangover. I don't even like talk about it that much. People use our electrolytes for hangovers a lot, and I don't even like push that content because I don't drink. So it'd be really inauthentic for me to sell electrolytes based on they're a hangover cure when I don't really want people drinking in the first place. I get it, bro. Like I was in college, I drank in high school like we were talking about. I get it. I'm not going to hate on it. So yeah, electrolytes are crucial. Some supplements like N-acetylcysteine, everyone should look into for liver health. Yeah, there's some stuff you can take for your hangover.
Is this bullshit?
Tums are bullshit. Okay. Yeah, 100%. So we just had a functional medicine doctor on that talked in depth about a lot of the gut issues that people have. And when you look at something like IBS, for example, or even just acid reflux, so many people get these, it's calcium carbonate, you chew it, you swallow it, and it sort of lowers that pH in the gut. But he was saying where a lot of the acid reflux actually stems from is your actual pH of your stomach is too low. So your stomach is supposed to be pretty acidic. It's supposed to have a pH of like 2.5 or something. It's supposed to be acidic. And you can take supplements like betaine HCl, which can raise this acidity. But for a lot of modern people, their gut isn't as acidic. You can think of our primal ancestors killing an animal and eating the liver, eating, meat, even eating stuff like tubers, like potatoes off the ground and stuff like that. And the acidity in the gut can help prevent a lot of the pathogens and parasites because you fully assimilate and break everything down. A lot of people nowadays just don't have that acidic gut, which is actually beneficial. We've gotten so into this alkaline acid thing, like, there's alkaline water and stuff, which won't change the alkalinity in your gut at all, by the way. But we forget that our gut is supposed to be acidic.
What makes your gut more acidic? Is it just eating meat?
So when you eat certain foods, the digestive enzyme process starts in your salivary glands, and you start to release certain enzymes. And then the food travels into the gut, and more enzymes get released to break down all that food. And the really interesting thing is, talking to the functional medicine doc, the stuff that really sort of depletes that, stress, alcohol use, your body starts to secrete less digestive enzymes. So people can supplement with digestive enzymes. It's something I do when I'm in a rush and I'm eating a big meal, when I'm traveling, because I want that high acidity in my gut to break everything down. And if you want natural things to increase it, smelling your food and taking 6 deep breaths before you eat, there are health hacks behind traditional wisdom, like praying before a meal. When you start to, or just home cooking, you're going to start to smell that food. Your brain is intaking this information of what you are smelling, and your salivary glands actually start to, like the phrase of like, oh, I'm salivating when the Thanksgiving. No, your salivary glands are starting to prep for the food that you're going to eat, just like a Pavlov's response, like with a dog. So, yeah, man, people's enzyme function is all messed up, but then they get some acid reflux and they take this, but they're not really getting towards the actual solution. Another red 40 product too.
Interesting.
Red 40, blue 1. It's like, bro, just make them no color or color them with beetroot powder. But they don't care. This isn't why would they care?
Do you wear deodorant?
I do.
You do? What do you think of Old Spice?
Old Spice. I mean, so many of these deodorants, you see propylene glycol in there, which is an antifreeze. You see yellow 10 and green 5. I haven't seen green 5 in a lot of products. That's a fascinating one. And this is alcohol-based. There's artificial fragrance in here. One of the things with deodorant is we actually see lymphatic cancer, especially in women, and breast cancer going up. When you take especially those aluminum deodorants and you apply it to your lymph nodes, like this is a common area where people get cancerous tumors. In your lymphatic system, you have lymph nodes here, you have lymph nodes in your groin, you have lymph nodes here. Blocking the sweat gland function and I see these ads for deodorant where they're like, we stop you from sweating. Well, that's a normal process of how we detoxify as human beings. You should really look into why do you smell? Or, I mean, what I do as well, use a natural deodorant. There are aluminum-free deodorants. There are so many. We're working on formulating one, so that's usually what I'm wearing. Base Body Works has some. Like, there's so many, you know? So, I would be very skeptical about rubbing Blue One and aluminum on my armpits every day to stop a normal biological process that's happened forever in order to smell good. How do I smell?
I don't smell anything, so
That's good.
I would say at least medium.
I'll take it.
But
yeah, sketchy product.
Natural deodorant, I don't know. I just feel like I see online that people say it just makes them smell bad.
You got to find one that works. I agree. Like when we were testing, because we're going to formulate a deodorant, it's taking a long time to formulate. There are ones that just don't appear to do anything. And then there's other ones that do appear to work. And my co-founder is working more on the intricacies of the deodorant project. But like there are good ways to go about it where you're managing some of the bacteria there and sort of neutralizing it versus some of those natural deodorants just sort of have nothing in there that's really going to stop smell besides essential oils. And that's not really getting to any of like the root cause. So yeah, you got to get a good one for sure.
Last one. Or actually, I'll ask you about this separately. I was thinking about hair. Like a lot of guys these days put products in their hair, like hair gel, different creams, like all these texture powders. Like I know Base has a lot of this stuff. Like I'm someone who puts a lot of product in my hair. I wouldn't be able to shower with just water because the products wouldn't come out. Like, what do you recommend? Like, are there natural shampoos or conditioners?
For sure. I would use a natural shampoo. I don't have really any issues with a natural shampoo. My issues with like the products that we're holding here is if there is an option that doesn't have parabens, doesn't have Blue One in there, why would you not use it? Because like people can say, oh, like Blue One, you know, parabens, like whatever. But like, do we know what happens when daily you expose yourself to Blue One and parabens, then you heat it up with chlorinated hot water in the shower and you're inhaling it? No, and there's no study on it. Do you know how much money it is to run a study? You're going to have to start to intelligently think about some of this stuff if you really want to benefit your health and you want to have optimal health. These people that need a study for everything. I love reading the studies. I go on PubMed every day and nerd out. But you can sort of think in your head about some of this stuff. So I'm going to heat up like the ingredient list on those products every day, multiple times per day. I'm going to rub it into my skin. I'm going to massage it in. And then I'm going to breathe in the steam coming off of those products. Good or bad? Make that decision for yourself, you know? And I would rather use a natural option.
So I'm guessing your opinion on studies, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's hard to fake studies and fabricate studies. That's not really a thing, but it's just there's no funding for the opposite side. You know, like there might be a bunch of studies about how good Coca-Cola is for you, perhaps, but there's not many funded to show how bad it is for you. Is that kind of the case with this stuff?
It's extremely expensive to run a study. So when you ask for a study for everything in regards to your health, you're also just going to be behind. So lately we've had a huge trend of people, let's just say people saying eggs are healthy again. It was on the cover of Time magazine. Butter was on the cover of Time magazine. Like, we were wrong about saturated fat. Not that we're fully wrong, that it's not implicated in heart disease, but now the general recommendation, if you go to any just like normal doctor, they'll be like, yeah, you can have eggs in your diet. You can have some cholesterol, dietary cholesterol. And we found that actually dietary cholesterol does not move the needle in terms of heart disease. Excess saturated fat can. But people knew this, right? And so the people that just like wanted to study for everything, they don't do any research, they just listen to their doctors, they don't even think about how we evolved as Homo sapiens, they got sort of left behind. And they stopped eating eggs, one of the most nutrient-dense foods on Earth, one of the healthiest foods on Earth. And they stopped eating eggs because heart doctors told them these are going to clog your arteries and you're going to die. So you have to have critical thinking because we're wrong about a lot of stuff right now that doctors are telling you that we will know in 20 years was completely false.
So you think some studies are fake?
I don't think there's a lot of fake studies out there. I think
like you don't think they're not able to adjust the numbers that much. Like they have to do it. And my sister is like a researcher. So like she's told me it would be very, very hard.
It would be extremely hard. So if you want to know how all these headlines come out every year that red meat causes colon cancer, that is done on a survey-based study. They'll take 500,000 people, they'll survey them, do you eat red meat? And they'll go, yeah, I eat red meat. And then they'll follow those people and they'll go, hey, guess what, guys? The group that ate red meat, they had a 16% higher risk of colon cancer. So red meat causes colon cancer. And it's not the academic researchers that go out and say that. What it is, big media finds these studies and they go, how can we spin this to get 1 million clicks, 1 million views? Red meat causes colon cancer. You'll see those headlines and you probably will see them again.
These are based off of like qualitative surveys.
These are based on surveys.
Yeah.
No,
interesting.
yeah,
it's not like lab experiments and like that kind of thing. Like they're just following people off surveys.
And what are those people doing? Are they eating grass-fed steaks and balancing it with fruits and vegetables like someone like myself does and avoiding, toxic products? No. And actually the people, especially when these studies were done 20 years ago, the people that are actually more likely to have healthy routines that are also cancer preventative, like exercising and eating a good amount of fiber and vegetables and fruits and antioxidants, are sometimes going to be the people that don't eat meat. Because people that consume meat aren't like you and I hope you eat some grass-fed steaks and stuff, but they're eating McDonald's and stuff. And they're checking, yeah, I eat meat. So those survey-based studies are oftentimes a little bit flawed.
Last one on the products. Toothpaste. Crest.
Yeah, Crest toothpaste. I use toothpaste. I use a brand called Boca. They have
Does it have a green lid?
Yeah,
I
they
use
have
that one.
Nice. Yeah, they have a substance in there called non-nanohydroxyapatite. It's been used in Japan for a long time for remineralizing the teeth. It doesn't have fluoride in there. I think the whole fluoride thing is a whole rabbit hole people can go down on their own. We just saw Dr. Chris Masterjohn on Rogan talking about some of the fluoride issues, and he thinks it's linked with thyroid cancer. Again, something like that where you're like, okay, is there an alternative to fluoride that helps with tooth remineralization that doesn't have those potential risks? Yes, there is, and it's extremely affordable. Sell it at Target. I'm going to go with that. So, yeah, brush your teeth, use some toothpaste, but be wary of this.
What can that do to you long-term, you think? Or like children using Crest toothpaste?
Yeah, I think like using Crest toothpaste long-term, I mean, you're going to get some sodium fluoride ingestion there. And like when I have kids, I'm not going to have them ingesting sodium fluoride. I don't think that would be a smart idea.
Yeah, I see like a lot of stuff about it. Like, I don't know, like it makes you dumber, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I believe there is a study showing lowered IQ in groups consuming more fluoride.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Quick one. Being well-researched gives you a significant advantage when entering a conversation with someone. So now when I have a guest on my podcast, I try to learn the little details, hidden gems, things that they would never think I would know about them, so our content is as good as possible. This is a big reason we had to start using Poppy for all of our content, because with their platform, you can take documents, voice memos, tweets, podcasts, TikToks, and connect them all to a chatbot that instantly transcribes and lets you interact with several pieces of content at once. As someone with over 15 billion views on social media, good research is your competitive edge when it comes to going viral. So if you want the most powerful AI tool to improve your content, just go to jackneel.com/poppy. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if it doesn't give you value, it's completely free. You can also scan the QR code on screen or hit the first link in the description. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast. Do you think tampons are unhealthy?
Do I think tampons are unhealthy? That's a really interesting question. So there are tampon brands where they're basically plastic, and we know plastic is an endocrine disruptor, and women are putting those inside their body. Women's health is a very interesting topic, and they are heavily marketed to and told, okay, you should be on birth control by this age. And yeah, the birth control topic's a fascinating one. Again, it's one of those things if there's natural brands out there that make like cotton tampons. And if I was a woman, I probably would not want to put plastic inside me every single, once a month.
I guess just by that same token, I'm not saying these are directly similar, but like do you use like normal toilet paper?
So there's toilet paper that is basically like fragranced and bleached, and like, I don't go so far down the health rabbit hole where like if I'm in a hotel, I'm like bringing my own toilet. No. But yeah, at home we do have like a chlorine-free, like dye-free, fragrance-free toilet paper.
How bad is that for you? You think like just using like Charmin toilet paper?
I mean, not that. These are things that are pretty low down on the list of health optimization.
Fair.
But once you start to nerd out on this stuff, I think it's pretty easy to make that simple switch if you have the means to do so. You need your caffeine, huh?
Oh no, man. I'm a very caffeinated man.
How many milligrams of caffeine do you do?
Probably like 400 a day.
400? It's not insane. But
the
you're doing
nicotine consumption is pretty large, I will say.
So you're doing a bunch of caffeine in the late afternoon and a bunch of nicotine in the late afternoon.
I probably do about 1,000 milligrams of nicotine a day.
And then 400 milligrams of caffeine. You don't worry about that at all?
It's a good question.
What time do you go to sleep?
About 11.
So if you're having, let's say, a 200 milligram caffeinated beverage at 5 p.m., the half-life of caffeine is like 6 to 8 hours, depending on genetic variables.
True.
So it's, you can think of it like it's not too different than if it's 11, you're about to go to sleep and someone says, hey, do you want to take a 100 milligram caffeine pill right now? You'd go, no, it's bedtime. But you're kind of doing that. That's the thing, like, and then like you're not worried about like the receptors like in your brain, like you're, to be able to like be happy in life and like have drive and like do everything you do, like
no, you're right.
Dopamine is really critical for that drive, and like you're kind of blunting some of those receptors.
How much does Adderall concern you, like medically?
Adderall concerns me a lot medically. It doesn't, it works 100%. This is the thing, but yeah, I have significant concerns about, we just had the MD on, Dr. Abood Bakri. He said there's no biological free lunch. Anything with a massive effect on your biology is going to have effects in other areas. Even extremely hard exercise. You can't do it all the time. You're going to run down your endocrine system. You're going to run down your sleep and immune function. That's why athletes actually get sick a good amount during hard training. It's very common because they're redlining. But I feel like a lot of people today are just redlining just on a normal, Tuesday, bro.
Yeah.
Like people redline. So yeah, I would be concerned. Like, I have friends just like you, man. They do good amount of caffeine, good amount of stimulants. Yeah, that's
it. Just seems like every like big entrepreneur I talk to is like on something, whether it's like maybe like 300 of testosterone or just Adderall. Like one of those two like seems to be the common theme. So it just like feels unfair.
I'm on neither, and I do a lot more revenue than probably some people you've talked to. Not everybody, but like I'm on neither of those. I'm not on testosterone. I'm not on Adderall.
Have you tried those?
I've never tried testosterone. I have tried Adderall. I was prescribed Adderall when I was like 14 years old. I tell that story a lot. I didn't like how it made me feel. So I would like my mom would be like, here you go. And I would just like throw it in a bush on my walk to school. But it's heavily overprescribed. Do you know how Adderall got started? How Ritalin got started? That was the first.
It was a weight loss drug, right?
Okay, so how it got started was there's this Swiss chemist and he's playing tennis with his wife. Rita is her name, okay? And he's testing different methamphetamine derivatives on her. Like she is like her like lab rat. And he's testing these derivatives of meth and he's like, they're trying to make a good one. And he's playing tennis with her and she's like, this is the one. I am locked in right now. And he names it Ritalin, Ritalin, okay? And they start to use this in different areas, like in war and so, like giving it to like soldiers and stuff like this. Then eventually they get out of that and they're like, how do we get this into everybody's hands? Because that's big pharma. It's no conspiracy. They're trying to sell their product. And they realize this makes people focus. We could give it to people that have trouble focusing. Now the trouble with that is there's no way to actually diagnose ADHD with a blood test, a brain scan, not even brain scans. So how do they diagnose ADHD in this country? It's a little test you do. So you go into a psychiatrist's office, they do a little test. Who is the test designed by? The companies that sell the ADHD drugs. Okay? Almost anybody can go and if they want, just like fail that test and you can get prescribed this stuff. I think it's heavily overprescribed. I think it's a joke in the United States that especially boys are prescribed this at a far higher rate than girls. 1 out of 10 boys is on Adderall right now. We tell boys to go sit there under blue light, fed bad food, and if you can't focus on, an underpaid teacher that doesn't really care about what they're saying, you need to get on a form of amphetamines. That's fucked up.
Yeah. I guess personally, it's my belief that since the world is the way it is, like some people, if they want to be hyper competitive and doing big shit, that maybe they just have to do that, you know? Because it's like, if I'm not made to sit at my laptop for 10 hours a day, then how can I make myself someone who can sit at my laptop for 10 hours a day?
For sure.
You know?
I think it's a
because
really...
it could be your health, but it's like that takes away hours. Like it's kind of hard to find that balance.
No,
you know?
it's a very interesting thing. And, Clav had some viral videos where he's like, Santa Cruz says all this stuff about health, but like, I want big results like right now is basically what he was saying. And I agree with him. I don't disagree with the statement that if you take testosterone and, meth and all the stuff, that you're not going to have like some very big changes in the way you look, in the way you feel. But I do have concerns about health. And health is this thing that gets swept under the rug. It's not talked about a lot, but I see the reality of it. Like what happened, there's so many bodybuilders that die. There was that influencer, Johnny Skywalker. I think he had like severe heart issues or something like that. Or I don't know if he passed away or not. It happens. And like with someone even like yourself that's taking a lot of stimulants and you're like, well, I need to take these to just focus and to crush it. It's kind of like, I guess start to think like, I get it. I get where you're coming from, but it's like, what is like the end goal? Like, do you ever feel like overstimulated? Like, what do you do when you need to relax?
But like around 7 p.m. I relax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
because it all just wears off, and then that's kind of when I stop working as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
do you think you're able to work for those 10 hours like in a healthy body?
I am able to do like, 10 hours of sustained work. But I do choose to break up my days with exercise, with things I love to do. But yeah, I mean,
I think there's like a grind phase, but I think you have to leverage yourself as a business person, like get to a point where you have so much leverage that you can live a lifestyle where you're able to break up your days.
100%.
You know what I mean? And if you're constantly doing 10 hours of deep work every day, you're not someone who's good at business. You're not someone who has a lot of leverage, you know? So it's like, my goal is like, I don't know, maybe by the time I'm 30 to not be taking like any stimulants, and hopefully I have so many employees like that I don't really need to be in my business as much.
For sure. Makes sense.
Santa Cruz. Rank these from healthiest to most unhealthy. McDonald's, Subway, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, Panera Bread.
Number one healthiest, Chipotle. You can go into Chipotle and get a bowl, and you can make it pretty healthy. They use real ingredients. You can get rice, you can get beef, you can get guac, you can get some beans. It's a pretty good option. Next up, I'm going to have to go with Chick-fil-A. And I'm not a fan of Chick-fil-A, but with the options you've given me, and you guys will see what's last. I mean, I'll go off on it. But Chick-fil-A, you could go in there and get some type of grilled chicken and just get some protein. Protein is so critical. You want to be hitting about 1 gram per pound of your goal body weight. So let's say you're 200 pounds and you want to weigh 180, get 180 grams of protein in. Let's say you're 140 pounds and you want to weigh 160, get 160 grams of protein in. So Chick-fil-A, go in there, get some grilled chicken, stay away from the seed oil fried stuff. We're going to go number 2 for there. Next up, we're going to have McDonald's, which I know sounds crazy, but given the other options that you've left me with, you could go to McDonald's and just get some beef patties. That's honestly probably the only thing I would order there. I did a video with FaZe Rug where we went into McDonald's and I believe he ordered some type of salad. You could get a seed oil soaked salad and then do some burgers on the side and sort of make like a, burger in a bowl type thing there. I would stay away from the fries. They put a anti-foaming agent called dimethylpolysiloxane into their frying oil so it doesn't foam up and they can reuse it more. It's also used in like flame retardant spray. I'd personally stay away from that. But yeah, for number 3, we're going to go McDonald's.
And then Panera Bread and Subway.
Next up, Panera Bread. Panera Bread, the problem is people go in there and they're just eating sweetened dough, basically. And that's like a big thing in Americans' diet. We eat sweetened dough of some sort at any meal, whether it's cereal in the morning, and then a sandwich for lunch, and then dinner you're having some type of pasta that you put sugar-filled tomato sauce on. You're just eating sugar and dough. And that's, what we see in our population, a very doughy sugar-filled population. So Panera Bread's a big factor in that, but I'm assuming you could go in there and get some type of salad with some protein on there, some type of soup of some sort. Those are the things I would look towards on that menu.
And then Subway.
Subway. I hate Subway so much. I absolutely despise it. The reason is there's more Subways than McDonald's in the United States of America. And they have done a particularly good job at marketing it as something healthy. But over the years, I mean, they got caught with having a chemical that was in yoga mats in their bread. And they had to kind of run back and be like, oh, we'll take that out. But it still didn't make Subway healthy. The bread is barely bread. Okay? Like, I'm not one of these people that's very anti-bread. But that stuff is filled with sugar, filled with preservatives. It's not something that I would want to eat personally. And then when you really look at like the pricing and like how much protein you're going to get in a Subway sandwich, it's not great. So I think Subway is probably one of the worst options you can go for. Go to your local deli and get a sandwich there. The biggest thing, I preach all this stuff, and I just did a video at Taco Bell. I'm offering people $100 to quit Taco Bell, to leave. And it really frustrated me because people wouldn't take my deal. I offered 3 people $100. They said no. Go to a real Mexican place. Any real food owned by a family, you're gonna support actual good people, not some giant corporation, and you're gonna get real ingredients and benefit your health more than you would at Taco Bell.
Subway sounds pretty good, right? You know, they have a 12-inch, or they have a cookie foot long now.
Just cookie foot long, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if they started selling ice cream. It was acquired by the same company that maybe does Auntie Anne's or something like that, like some really unhealthy company. Why do you hate Crumbl cookies?
Crumbl cookie, I feel like, is a big symbol of the problems we have with this new generation, where when something pops off on social media, there's no thought about what that actually does to our health. It's just like consume and post it. And Crumbl cookie is a dietary example of that. Their cookies are not cookies, okay? You would never be able to make this cookie just 40 or 50 years ago. You need heavy machinery. You need, like propylene glycol in their cookies, artificial food dyes. And even beyond that, a lot of their cookies have 1,000 calories or more. That's an immense amount of calories to get in one little dessert. And that's really the root cause of obesity in the United States.
That's just in one cookie?
In one cookie.
1,000 calories. Wow. Okay.
And it's really the root cause of obesity in the United States is people overconsume calories and they don't burn enough calories. And if you're eating a couple Crumbl cookies, good luck burning that off. They're overpriced too. So when we get into a lot of the arguments against health, being healthy is expensive. Well, you're spending your money on Crumbl cookie. So yeah, I'm just against them. The CEO doesn't like me, made like a video about me, and I will continue to offer people $100 to quit Crumbl cookie.
What would you say is like the worst fast food restaurant you could eat, or maybe the worst meal at a fast food restaurant? I remember you reading an article a while back. It was like the Chili's chicken crispers like had the most calories of any fast food item, but
yeah,
what would you say is the absolute worst?
I think the absolute worst fast food location is Taco Bell. And the reason I think this is because the average combo meal in Taco Bell in California is $15. So drink, but usually people are getting soda, but you get a drink, a little side, something, you get like whatever it is, your combo meal at Taco Bell. And the same goes for McDonald's. You're going to spend $16 on a combo meal at McDonald's. Fast food, an argument saying it used to be, it was cheap. That argument is gone. It is not affordable anymore. So with $15 to $16, you can go into any grocery store and get way more healthy food. You can get a rotisserie chicken for $8 from Costco and then go get some greens and boom, right there you have like a chicken salad that's going to be delicious and it's going to be far healthier. You can also go to a normal taco truck. You can go to a little local Mexican restaurant and you can get tacos, and it's going to be a corn tortilla, it's going to be carne asada, it's going to be onions and cilantro, and it's going to be way healthier for you. So gone are these days of, McDonald's is $3 to get a meal. It's not anymore. And neither is Taco Bell. And it makes you feel like shit right after you eat it. So It's pretty obvious.
That's interesting. I don't think he said this on my podcast, but we did an episode recently with Dr. Mike Israetel, and he basically alluded to the notion that the fast food itself isn't responsible for like the obesity and like making people super unhealthy as much as just how good the food is and how addictive it is. Is that largely your view as well? That like if someone ate, I don't know, steak and rice, chicken and rice versus someone ate fast food at a moderate amount and they didn't overeat it, they would be roughly the same level of healthy? Or do you think that the fast food person is just significantly way less healthy?
So we equate health with weight, which is a very important factor in health. If you carry excess fat, excess adipose tissue, it puts you at a greater risk of every single disease under the sun. We know this. And that does happen from excess calorie consumption. That is a fact. Some people in the kind of health community I'm in, sort of holistic health, somehow argue against that. I don't argue against that ever. You consume more calories than you burn, you are going to gain weight. Now comes along this group of, oh, well, there was a guy who just ate Twinkies and he lost weight because he was in a calorie deficit. Yeah, he did. The actual practical explanation for life and what you can take and use in your life is if you go the Twinkie method, the fast food method, I'm just going to eat really bad food, okay? But I'm going to be in this calorie deficit, so I'll still be able to maintain a good weight, so I'll be able to have good health, right? Let's take two imaginary groups. One only eats fast food and one eats healthy food. Like you're saying, chicken, rice, steak, fruits, veggies. We have immune health. So this group who's eating good food is going to get sick less. What happens when you get sick? Is it easy to get your 10,000 steps in? Is it easy to crush it? No, it's not. It's extremely difficult. By pure will and force, you could eat a bad diet and still go to the gym and hit your workouts. But with how easy it is nowadays to eat healthy, I do not see how anybody could argue, yeah, just eat fast food and be in a deficit and you'll lose weight. We also look into colon cancer rates. Like I talked about, 126% rise in colon cancer recently. Well, do we really know what the litany of preservatives and artificial food dyes and gums and anti-caking agents that are in this fast food are doing on a deep level to our gut health? We don't fully know. Now, I've interviewed functional medicine doctors who run thousands of lab tests looking at gut health, and guess what? They have extreme concern. And they say, when I have a client eliminate fast food, their gut health gets better. So I think in an era where so many people are getting cancer, so many people have autoimmune issues, why would we not be skeptical? So I'm not going to just put my health in the hands of a corporation like Taco Bell and just say, because I'm in a calorie deficit, I can eat this food, this slop. No, I'm going to eat foods that God put on this earth for me to eat that fuel me.
I guess from a macro perspective, what would you say is the darkest thing about the fast food industry that people don't realize?
I think the darkest thing about the fast food industry is how they put billions of dollars into looping kids from a really young age into their system. And you can see this with the cereal industry in depth. Putting toys in kids' cereal, doing very flashy marketing, and they even tap into your primal reward mechanisms of looking at bright colors. So that red 40 in your, cereal isn't just there because, it just makes it bright red. That's just for no reason. No, they know that bright colors actually stimulate us. We have deep, deep grooves in our brain from hundreds of thousands of years of evolution to be able to seek bright colors because it might have provided some type of evolutionary advantage to be able to find those and seek those out as something that we might be able to eat. They tap into that by having that bright packaging. And then they, pay athletes and stuff to, you want to be like LeBron James? Eat this cereal. It's really insidious, and they loop kids in. McDonald's with their toys. You come here, you get a toy. They even build playrooms for the kids. They really try to do whatever they can to bring children into their establishments in order to get them hooked for life. They know if that you get a kid eating fast food from age 4, 5, 6 years old, they're going to probably eat it for the rest of their life, and there's a lot of value in that.
I'm curious about the chemicals. I feel like I still don't have a good grasp of these dyes. I guess why are certain artificial colors more dangerous than others?
In my opinion, I don't think certain artificial colors are more dangerous than others. I talk about Red 40 a lot, and it goes really viral. And I feel like it was a big awakening for people with what is in their food when I started to do these videos on Red 40. It got a lot of people wondering, what is Red 40? Why is it in my food? What is going on with the food system? And it sort of became this meme. Now, the truth, of course, is there are bigger things you can do for your health. Basic, getting good nutrition in, getting good sleep. These things are going to be way higher value than avoiding Red 40. But what actually happens when you start avoiding foods that have Red 40 in them? What do you avoid? Are you avoiding fruits and vegetables? No, you start to avoid heavily processed foods that also come with a bunch of corn syrup in there, a bunch of excess calories. So it starts to make people more aware of what is in their food, and it starts getting people to read the actual labels and ingredient lists in their food. And millions of Americans are choosing to flip their cereal over, whatever food it is, look at the ingredient roster and go, this is strange. I'm going to try not eating this. And they try that for a bit and they feel way better. And so it's making people more aware of what's actually going on in the food system.
I guess if you had to give 3 ingredients for people to avoid, like to look out for, because you look at those nutrition fact labels and people are like, what the hell is this? You know, It's like, why do we even have to put it on there if like people don't know what it is anyway? Like what would those 3 ingredients be that you would avoid?
The first ingredient I would tell them to avoid is high fructose corn syrup. Now, it's totally fair to say if you consume it in very small amounts, it's not going to be an issue. What's the reality in this country? We're almost at 50% obesity, and a lot of this is because people are drinking their calories through high fructose corn syrup. So I function in what's actually happening in the world. What's actually happening is overconsumption of high fructose corn syrup, so people should be aware of that. The next thing I totally think are artificial food dyes, and people argue, no, they're not that important. They don't have calories. They're not. Once you start avoiding artificial food dyes, you start cutting back on the heavily processed junk. So you immediately get that one thing right there, immediately gets a bunch of other ingredients out of your system by avoiding foods with artificial food dyes in there. And the last thing I will say, which is very controversial, are seed oils, are soybean oil, canola oil, corn oil. I don't believe these are so evil that you can never eat them, or if you find some healthy food and it's cooked in seed oils, I think don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You can eat those seed oils, right? But once you start avoiding processed foods that have seed oils in them, you will be consuming more stable fats. You will be looking towards better options. And so those 3 things right there, if you start to be more aware of them, you can greatly improve your health.
You talked a moment ago about some professional athletes endorsing cereal and different fast food brands, but I saw a video you made. It was something about wireless headphones. Why do professional athletes never wear AirPods?
Yeah, a lot of professional athletes are switching towards the wired headphones, and this is as we basically get more information about EMFs, and people are trying to do every single thing to level up their performance. So I think it's totally fair to say with EMFs, we don't know really what's going on yet. It's not like, oh, if you wear AirPods, you're going to get brain cancer. But when we start to see people having concerns about EMFs.
And what's EMF?
Electromagnetic frequency.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so when you can do something as simple as go with the wired headphones. So like me personally, I will wear AirPods sometimes I'm in the gym because, the wired headphones get tangled up and everything. But I'm just hedging my bets against EMFs a bit until we have more research on them. So at home, I'm wearing my wired headphones. We have an area in our house like where we sleep where the Wi-Fi doesn't reach there. And while there's no definitive data on EMFs, I think it's something that I would not be astonished in 15 to 20 years we realize that they do affect our health in some way, maybe our mitochondrial health. And so I'm totally willing to hedge my bets to protect myself against that. And I think many pro athletes are too.
What's the biggest lie we're being told about salt?
I think the biggest lie we're being told about salt is from our own government, which is to only have, I believe it's 2.3 grams of sodium, they say. You should only have this amount. But when we look at studies on athletes, they did a great study on the Philadelphia Eagles where they attached these devices to them and they monitored how much sodium they lose on a hard training day. Okay, so and keep in mind, these are big boys training hard. But you have linemen losing 30 grams of salt in a training session. You have quarterbacks and kickers and some sort of more, smaller people losing 8 grams, 7 grams of sodium. You lose salt when you exert yourself. Naturally, when left up to their own mechanisms, human beings naturally consume about 4 to 7 grams of sodium. We're being told to consume way less. The studies linking salt consumption with excess blood pressure, kidney issues. You can look up The Salt Fix. It's an amazing book by a very good doctor, and he describes how those studies were wrong. They were BS. They were complete associations we were trying to make, and it turns out it's not true. There were wars fought over salt. Salt helps regulate everything in the body. If you don't have salt, you die. So you need sodium. And for athletes in particular, when we look at those studies where you lose salt, when you sweat, you excrete it through your urine when you're working hard, I think that's why we sell a salt-based electrolyte. Because anybody can just add some sea salt to your water in the morning and see how you feel versus when you don't do it. Run an experiment on yourself. It's not going to cause you kidney issues. It's not going to cause you blood pressure issues. And most people could actually benefit from having some extra salt in their diet, especially if they're an athlete.
Is it pointless to drink water without salt?
No, because water can have different levels of minerals and electrolytes. Like this is spring water right here that you so graciously got me. And that has like natural electrolytes in there.
But I guess like your typical bottle of water that's just like processed to like not have anything in it, like distilled water, I guess. Like, does that have any benefit or does it just go straight through you?
If you're having water that's stripped of all minerals, what water sort of likes to be for hydration for us, like naturally, like spring water, it is water and minerals. That is how we hydrate. It isn't just H2O that hydrates us. If you just drink plain water that's stripped of all minerals, you will eventually run into issues. Your body has a certain sodium to potassium ratio, for example, that it needs to have to function optimally. And if you there's been people that have done like challenges drinking distilled water and stuff, and they've passed away. Like you can pass away from drinking too much just plain water without any electrolytes. So yeah, hydration is a combination of H2O with minerals.
What do you think are the main water brands people should avoid?
I think the main thing for me is packaging. I really try to avoid plastic water bottles as best as I can.
I've heard from, who told me this? It was Togi. He said that Mountain Valley, like glass bottles of water, have more microplastics in them than regular plastic bottles.
Yeah, so there was a study done on that. Dr. Paul Saladino actually did a great debunking of that study, where if you actually look into that study, it was like the caps on lemonade that actually provided more plastic, and they did have concerns about the cap on the water putting in some plastic. But also, when you expose plastic water bottles to heat, which probably was not done in the study, but it is done when you buy a plastic water bottle. It's sitting in a store, it's sitting outside, it's sitting in your car. That leaches a lot more microplastic. So I think in like real world applications, having the glass water bottle or a Hydro Flask that you fill up at home is the move.
Do you think you should get high before you work out? Like, how does hitting the za affect your performance in the gym?
Yeah, it's a very common thing. People are hitting the za before they go to the gym. People report better mind-muscle connection and stuff like that. In my opinion, I think most young people especially, are overusing the za. It's an epidemic. It's so widely available now. You don't have to sneak around and go get it from some guy like I had to do in high school. It's everywhere. A lot of kids have a device in their pocket and they rip this thing multiple times per day. Now, what I think that does is, again, we have this substance that heavily acts on the dopamine pathways in the body, and I don't think it's natural at all to be using this multiple times per day. Now, as far as like the mind-muscle connection, there might be some evidence there, but what za also does is negatively affects your sleep. So there's plenty of studies showing that THC can negatively affect your sleep. Well, when does your testosterone really start to rebound? When you sleep. So to have good sleep architecture, I would definitely minimize that. Can't say I've never done it, but yeah, you really want to be careful with that.
Are there any ways to naturally boost your testosterone?
Absolutely.
Are there any foods you can eat?
Absolutely. There are many foods you can eat and many natural things you can do to raise your testosterone. And we have all these young kids nowadays wanting to go towards taking testosterone. And I get why they're doing it. They're saying the odds are stacked up against me. There's all these endocrine disruptors that we talked about. I could just take test and raise my testosterone. And we had Dr. Abood Bakri on the podcast, and I had a doctor on He's very pro testosterone and very pro peptide. And I did that on purpose. I don't want to be biased. I don't want to go, oh, I'm a natural guy. Let me just not talk. I'll talk to anybody, right? So what he said is there is no reason that if you are a young adult male, that you should not be able to have 900 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter testosterone with basic sleep and nutrition. Basic. So not all the stuff that I do and nerd out on. Basic stuff. Now, when we look at specific nutrients and stuff, there's unique stuff like boron. So boron is going to be found in fruits like dates, stuff like apples, and boron has been shown to lower SHBG, which is sex hormone binding globulin that can sort of lower your free testosterone. So people have experimented around with supplementing with like 6 milligrams of boron, and they've noticed higher testosterone through freeing it up by lowering SHBG. The big thing with testosterone is getting enough healthy fats into your diet. Stuff like avocado, olive oil. I'm a big fan of scary saturated fats like beef tallow, butter, red meat. That helps fuel your endocrine system.
Fair. It does seem odd that if you look at the testosterone levels by country, there's like a big difference in like what you would have in Africa as opposed to, say, East Asia or Europe. Like there's definitely differences in people's natural test levels. So I don't understand how every guy would be able to have 1,000.
Mm-hmm. I think what he's saying is if you have optimal sleep, some decent nutrition, you are able to get your levels up pretty significantly. As far as the natural levels that differ, he also talked about, and many doctors have talked about, how we are obsessed with this number, this testosterone number. We're not looking at SHBG levels like we just talked about, how much of that is going to be bound up and not be able to be used. And we're also not looking at, like, we have this vision of if you are at this number in testosterone, you are going to feel and look a certain way. It's just not the truth. I do totally believe you should have on the higher end of testosterone. I think it's a great idea. And if my levels dropped, I would be concerned. I'll try to figure out why, right? But if you look at like something like, let's just take the NFL. And you take, Devontae Adams and Nakua, the two receivers for the Rams. Are their testosterone levels going to be slightly different from each other? Maybe. Are Nakua's going to be 800 and Devontae's are 900? Okay. Does that matter at that point? They are both elite athletes, crushing it. It's not going to make some crazy difference in your life if your levels are fluctuating, within this range of being generally high. There are bigger things at play for energy. There's other things at play for musculoskeletal development and growth. So yes, have your testosterone high, but I wouldn't freak out. My last levels were 847. Would I freak out if my next levels were 700? No. I might get concerned if they're repeatedly going down. But that's more of the testosterone passport that people need to start doing through lab testing, figuring out where they're at, what affects it. And, if people want to go on TRT, then they can go that route. I hope they would educate themselves about it a bit, especially if they're young, and just do it the proper way.
Do you mind if I ask what your mom's dad, what was he a fairly fit guy?
It's interesting. My mom didn't know her dad. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Huh.
I hope he was.
There's like something about guys getting their metabolism from their mother's side, which would largely be their mom's dad. But I don't know, man. I feel like you just see guys with low test, and I'm someone that likely has low test.
Have you ever gotten labs done?
Yeah, when I was 18, 19, I feel like it was like in the 350 range, like something fairly low.
I feel like most, I don't understand why I talk to guys like you that have some money and they just don't get lab work done. Maybe they don't know how, or it's confusing, but like, yeah, you should be getting lab work done. It's so easy to do.
It's kind of unreliable, isn't it? To get like your test levels.
Yeah. So like, that's why I try to do a lot of the content about functional medicine, because they actually know what to do now. And going, like you're saying, going to the doctor, get my test. They do your testosterone. It fluctuates so much throughout the day. The real thing to do is called a Dutch test. And what a Dutch test does is it tracks your hormones throughout the whole day, looking at stuff like cortisol as well, because you want your cortisol to rise in the beginning of the day, then fall. And Dutch test really analyzes that. And your testosterone is going to be different when you wake up versus right before you go to bed. So a Dutch test gets an actual picture of what your endocrine function's like, and you can start to clearly see, like people with sleep issues, their cortisol will often be high in the evening. So you can start to fix that with some natural supplements and stuff like that. That's really the grade A test. It's out there. But again, your normal doctor won't give you that. You'll just get your one testosterone level checked. Like I could get your testosterone low by depriving you of sleep and having you do your reading at 8 p.m. And I could get it high by getting you some good sleep and having you do your reading at 8 a.m.
On peptides, I feel like you covered TRT fairly well. And just for the record, I believe your prescription is if someone is living a healthy lifestyle and they're at that 300 level or 200 level even, you wouldn't be totally opposed to prescribing them TRT?
I wouldn't be against someone using testosterone. This is where people really came at me in a way because people went with Clav's rise. They're like, speak out against this. I'm like, speak out against what? Which peptide are we talking about? Overall, on an overall scale, yes, I am against young people getting on testosterone. Why? It's a bit complex to get on testosterone. Different issues can arise, and in talking to these doctors that work with this in depth, they go over a bunch of issues that can arise. You can start to over-aromatize and start to convert a lot of that into estrogen, develop gynecomastia and stuff like that. There are potential concerns with heart issues we don't fully know yet, but there could be concerns with being on TRT from a young age. It's also just difficult to, it's a heck of an undertaking to take on. The reason I'm not on TRT, there's many reasons. My levels are high. I feel great. But it's also, I travel so much. You got to bring this stuff with you. It's something to take on that's a bit complex. And I really worry about a 14 or 15-year-old being able to do that properly and not cooking their endocrine system and having negative effects from that. But in a hypothetical scenario, if somebody was able to do it very intelligently, sure, I can't be very against it.
It's also the case, I believe, that some people aren't, I don't know if the word is like androgen receptive in the areas that they think they would be. Like I might not be able to blast 1,000 mg of test and like get super strong because it might just not work for me. But like someone like you put you on test, like it could work very well.
Yeah, that was a very interesting topic I talked about with the doctor. If people have different reactions to getting on testosterone. So I do worry about, a 15-year-old doing no lab work, not consulting with a doctor, just buying tests and doing it. And I think it would be really interesting to see with a lot of those kids of like, okay, like if you really focus on your sleep and exercise, and I'm not saying you have to do everything I do, just like if you try to eat well and really focus on sleep and circadian biology, basic stuff, turn off the video games like late at night and get some sleep, do that for 2 months and then go get your testosterone checked in the morning. See where you're at. You might not feel the need to get on testosterone at age 14.
Age 14. Peptides. What's your concern with peptides? And are there any that you would consider taking?
Yeah, so I'd take BPC 157. So I started that recently. I'm super excited about peptides overall, and I do have concerns. So it really depends on which peptide we're talking about.
Let's go through like the GLP-1 antagonists, like retatrutide, Ozempic, tirzepatide, like those three.
Yeah, so like overall, I would say if someone is overweight and they learn, this is a key thing, they learn a little bit about basic diet and nutrition, and they work on that and they get on something like retatrutide, I could see value in that. Now, talking to experts on peptides, they say one of the things with retatrutide that they see is that people will get on this and they don't know about diet and exercise. They don't really even know what to do to help them lose weight. They haven't developed any discipline. They don't know what to eat. They get on retatrutide, they see results, and if they get off it, they go right back and they create this yo-yo pattern, which is very bad for your health. There's been studies on people that gain and lose weight a lot. Some studies with weight cutting, some studies with people that have sort of naturally been through that, and it doesn't appear like it's very good for you, okay? So having that yo-yo effect could be bad. But overall, the worst thing for you, sure, is to carry around excess adipose tissue and be fat for a long period of time. So getting on something like retatrutide, I think it's going to become more and more common. The dosages with a lot of Ozempic and other GLP-1s, from talking to experts in the field, they say they're too high and they're done wrong. So I think having like, let's say I woke up tomorrow and I was like 80 pounds overweight, I would probably strongly consider getting on a low dose of retatrutide, because the research is showing that that would cause faster results in getting that weight off. And I think it's a pretty beneficial thing.
Yeah, I'll say personally, you're not on Reta, are you?
No.
I did it briefly. I don't know if I'm technically still on it. I tried bumping up to 2.0, I guess it was mg of it, and like it was just like unable to eat for a week. And like they recommend you to take like 7 or like
they recommend scaling
Clav
up.
takes like 15.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I could take 0.5 of this or like 1 of this and like just not have to eat an extra meal a day, you know? Like it's crazy the dosages they prescribe for me.
With basic understanding of human nutrition and then a love for some type of movement and working out, I don't track my calories right now. I'm a fan of people tracking their calories. Works great. I don't track mine at all. And I'm 160 pounds lean. I have 6-pack abs. I feel great. And the reason I don't really need to track is because I hit my protein goal every day and I love all the activities I do. Tomorrow I'm going to surf, you know, like, and then the next day I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu and I'll lift weights maybe the day after that. So your body can, once you really get into it and learn a bit about it and listen to your body, you can sort of find this good maintenance phase, which I think is the dream spot to be at. And that's without peptides. Well, without retatrutide.
How about, have you looked into, what is it, melanotan 2?
I've looked a little bit into melanotan 2. Interesting stuff. Now, I actually disagree fully with this idea that sun causes cancer, and there's a lot of myths around sun causing cancer. So one of the biggest things in dermatology is this truck driver case. They have this truck driver, and one side of his face, it looks like shit, okay? The other side of his face is good, and he had some skin cancer, right? They say, well, that's because the truck driver, this is clear evidence of sun causing skin cancer because he drove one way, basically. And the sun hit him here every day for years, and that withered his face. He looks like shit. Don't get sun. Use sunscreen every day on your face. What they don't tell you is that a car window refracts light completely differently than if he was getting natural sunlight. It blocks a lot of the beneficial spectrums of light, like red light, and isolates blue light in a unique way. So many of these studies done on sun-causing skin cancer have actually not been done under the sun. They have been done with blue lights in labs. And then we look into a lot of the information on how your overall health can lead to negative outcomes with skin cancer. So and then we look even deeper into, they show that when you get really badly burnt, this is obviously bad. We see a rise in, skin cancers. But when you look at that versus populations that have gradual exposure to the sun, you see way less skin cancer. So I think it's different for every person. You and I would be able to get different amounts of sun, okay? But when we look at the benefits of sun, I clearly do not agree with the statement that sun causes skin cancer. You shouldn't go out there and get burnt to a crisp, but intelligent exposure to the sun, I believe, is anti-cancer, not cancer promoting. So melanotan too, get naturally tan. I think a lot of people can tan more than they think. But yeah, I don't know too much about melanotan too. There's some crazy results when people overdo it. They look weird.
So you don't think the sun is actually what's giving you cancer? It's like the lack of the red light. It's like the diffusion of the blue light. That's really interesting. I think we had another guest talk about like how lack of fat causes you to get burned as well. Have you seen anything about that?
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff on that. People have this like thing that they like to say, like after they stopped eating seed oils, they didn't get burnt. I don't believe that, to be clear. But yeah, there's some interesting studies in like omega-3 content and like sunburns and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing that even many modern dermatologists would agree on is that having this lack of exposure to the sun and then suddenly going out and getting a lot of sun like people do for spring break is not good. And you get burnt, and that is not good. Now, experts on circadian biology like Zahid Dahaj, who I speak to a lot, would say, no, what you want to do is start to gradually get morning sun and evening sun and gradually build up this natural exposure to the sun. We are Homo sapiens. We exist under our star, the sun. And I think it's pretty crazy that we're told that our star gives you a disease. Don't go out in it unless you're layered up with chemical-based sunscreens, oxybenzone, avobenzone. Now, some places are banning these chemicals because they negatively affect the marine wildlife. Anybody can look up avobenzone chlorine. Look up what happens when a chemical in sunscreen interacts with chlorine. That's what a lot of people do. They put avobenzone on their skin and then they get into a pool. I am extremely skeptical about those chemical-based sunscreens, and you can just use a mineral-based sunscreen. You know, they make the zinc oxide ones. That's going to refract light. It's going to bounce off of you. And they do leave sometimes a little bit of a white cast, but they're far healthier and they don't damage marine life is a big thing. The chemical-based sunscreens, actually, you basically intake that solar radiation and it disperses it as heat in the body. I would go the mineral-based route and use those zinc oxide ones personally. So yeah, people need to be careful about that.
It's interesting. I think a friend of ours, Kay Shammy, I was tanning outside and he was like, dude, what are you doing? You're like going to age yourself, you know?
Yeah, the sun will age you is a common thing. But you know what's strange about that is when you look at like pro surfers, like I don't really like see that. I don't look at the World Surfing Tour where a bunch of guys and a lot of guys in their 30s on the World Surfing Tour, you know, late 20s and then there's like older surfers too. I don't see a lot of them looking horrible. Sometimes you'll see that guy, they're like, you got a little bit too much sun. But I don't see in general like this, like, oh, you like George Clooney. You know, George Clooney has a house in Hawaii. He spends a lot of time out there. I'm sure that dude's getting a lot of sun. I don't think he looks horrible. Pro surfers like Laird Hamilton that grew up in Hawaii, even though they're fair-skinned, they grew up surfing. They're in the ocean. I don't think he looks horrible. I don't know where this myth came from that the sun makes you look horrible. We look at traditional people of like Tahiti, Hawaii. I don't think these are like, oh, these people all look terrible. I personally don't think that.
Maybe it's just like white ass people getting too much sun.
That's definitely truth. If you're really fair skinned, you're not going to be able to just bake in the sun at high UV index. You should probably get more morning sun, some sunset, you know, vibes. So yeah, I think it's different for every person.
I think people should kind of look at like, I don't know. I think I'm British and Irish and all that shit. And if I just looked at how much sun I would get in those areas, like that would probably give me a decent idea of how much sun I can get. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why are people that grew up with cats more attractive?
Well, there's a fascinating parasite that sort of lives with us, especially if you had cats from a young age, and it's called toxoplasmosis. So what this parasite does is it basically hardwires the brains of rodents to be attracted to cat urine. So keep in mind, cats and rodents have a relationship where cats want to attack them, rodents run away, okay? This changes that. They start to get basically attracted to the cat's urine, and so they go near them. Cat kills the rodent, then the cat gets the parasite. The cat transfers it to you. And what happens from here is it's been associated in many different things that I guess people are now arguing would make you like more attractive. So it's been clear that a higher percentage of professional soccer players have this parasite. It can lead to excess aggression, which might be implicated in some hormonal and endocrine functions, so like maybe higher testosterone. Also, it's in like a higher instance of motorcycle accidents, so there might be some type of impulse and same kind of thing. Maybe that endocrine system is involved in this parasite. So it's led to people to believe that if you have this parasite, you're more likely to sort of be a high-test, alpha, impulsive male. It's fascinating.
So it increases your testosterone? Like that's why it makes you more attractive? Like what's the thing that it does?
They don't fully know, but the fact that it is higher in professional soccer players, motorcycle crash victims, leads them to believe that there's some chain of impulsiveness, which can also be associated with high testosterone.
Do you think Cookie King grew up with cats?
I think he did.
Makes sense.
He's pretty high test.
On another note, did you grow up with cats?
I did grow up with cats.
Of course you fucking... I'm joking. I've always been allergic to cats, man. I wonder if that's something in of itself. But what are the signs that someone has an unhealthy gut?
The clearest sign that we see when someone has an unhealthy gut is going to be the skin. So the skin is the clearest reflection of the gut, and it often gives, us early signs: eczema, psoriasis, acne. And they can be a blessing in disguise. I know a lot of people hate these things that they have, but it can be a sign that your gut health is a bit compromised and you can sort of fix it early. When you get into the signs that sort of can't be seen, I mean, you look into the rise in colon cancer, like we've talked about, indigestion, general malaise after eating. People think it's like, I did a post on this. People think it is normal to either not poop for extended periods of time or poop like 5 or 6 times a day. Neither of those is normal. Normal is 1 to 2 times per day. That's normal gut function. It's how your body excretes toxins. So many people are saying that they don't poop more than like once a week. That is a clear sign that your body is not detoxifying properly and they have compromised gut function. You need to alter your diet or go get some tests at the doctor or from a functional medicine doctor ASAP.
If someone has these, if I'm someone that has these symptoms, I'm not saying I am, but someone that wants to kind of fix their gut microbiome, like what's the fastest way to repair your gut health?
Yeah, so the best way to repair your gut health, I'm going to give people some stuff that everybody can do, and then some more high-level stuff. So the number one thing is start to eat some good fermented foods. You can go to the grocery store and get kefir. I think that's a great option. Yogurt is a great option. Fermented vegetables are a great option, like sauerkraut, kimchi, stuff like that. Start to add those into your diet. Making a plate of food that so many people make, like beef and rice or chicken and rice, but adding a little bit of that sauerkraut or kimchi, and then having like a yogurt bowl for dessert, you're going to start to feed your body with beneficial bacteria. Once you have that beneficial bacteria in your gut, it needs a substrate to feed on. That's going to be fiber. So that's why I do like having some fruits and veggies in my diet, and that's going to be a good source of fiber for that bacteria to feed on. For many people, when they start to eat probiotic foods, they immediately sort of get a reaction, maybe a histamine reaction. If you get that reaction, I think it's a clear sign that you probably have something like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is known as SIBO. You can look that up and sort of look up the signs of it. A lot of people have it nowadays. From there, you could take something like an oregano oil, like a short course of oregano oil that can knock down some of the gut bacteria there. Now, if you want to get into higher level stuff, GI map tests are available through functional medicine doctors. They cost a couple $100 right now. That price should go down. They should get more notoriety. I'm doing my best to let people know about this. You will find out what's going on in your gut, and it's pretty easy to work with a functional medicine doctor and fix that stuff. I had like a little bit of H. pylori one time. I knocked it down using some mastic gum supplements, some berberine, some other stuff, retested, and there's no H. pylori. Great. I'm not at risk for stomach cancer or stomach ulcers in the future. So simple. When I was young, I went to Costa Rica on a surf trip and I got sick there. Most people would have written it off as normal food poisoning, right? I fully recovered, right? I knew by this time all the functional medicine stuff, and I need to run a GI map test. Did a GI map test. I had a parasite called Cryptosporidium living in my gut. It wasn't food poisoning. I mean, it was, but through that food poisoning, there was anyone can look up the Cryptosporidium parasite. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm permanently cooked? No, it just means there is a parasite living in my gut. Now, this isn't some freaky parasite like people see, like some giant thing. No, you're talking like little tiny thing. You can knock it out with various supplements. There's stuff like wormwood. There's stuff like oregano oil, like we talked about, olive leaf. Did a few courses of that, just taking those supplements, retested, the parasite's gone. What would happen if I was a normal person, didn't know about this stuff, or even went to my normal doctor and said, I got sick in Costa Rica, I haven't felt perfect since. They would never give you the GI map test, and I would still be living to this day with Cryptosporidium in my gut and H. pylori, and it's highly likely that when I'm older, if something else didn't take me out, I would end up getting stomach ulcers, stomach cancer, and that's what would happen.
That's really fascinating because I remember going to Indonesia. I went to Bali. Have you been to Bali before?
Yeah.
And you know how there's like the Bali belly thing? Do you think that's a similar thing? Like, I mean, I think there's parasites in the water, like
Yes.
the tap water. I think you can even get it from the ocean because I intentionally didn't drink any water, but I did go in the ocean. Definitely got Bali belly. All my friends did. But like, is that a parasite as well?
It very well could be. It's one of the things my functional medicine doctor asks people when they have skin issues, gut issues. He goes, have you been to a tropical location in the last 5 years? Did you get sick there? It's very common that you're coming back with some type of parasite.
And what are the main signs of that one?
Indigestion, skin issues. People think it's normal to also to fart a lot. It's not. It's not, maybe if you eat something weird, but your digestive system should work well. It should work like a well-functioning machine. Your body's a machine, and any type of disarray in that you should look into and just be aware of.
Why is iodine good for your health?
Iodine is really important for thyroid health. It's something that is critical in our thyroids to produce thyroid hormone, and we just don't have too much of it in our diet anymore. Traditional cultures like Japan, like seaweed has iodine in it, different types of kelp and stuff like that, which people used to eat more of. Seafood has a good amount, but we're just not ingesting that much of those foods anymore. And so iodine has gone down, and they're even seeing people go into the hospital now with goiters, which they haven't seen. It's like a growth in the thyroid. And those are coming back because people are really not getting any type of dietary iodine in. But you can get like the little seaweed snacks. You could, if you got some money, go eat some good high quality sushi. You can eat some seafood. You'll be fine.
Do you think most supplements are scams?
I think there are many supplements out there that are scams. And the biggest thing with supplements is if you haven't dialed in your food, your exercise, your sleep rhythms, you should not look into supplements. That's a dumb thing as someone who runs a supplement company to tell you right now, but I don't care because I run the company. I'll just speak truth. There really is no reason for anybody who is eating poorly, not looking into basic stuff like their sleep, to take a supplement, because those things have an immense higher value than any supplement could do. So I sell a supplement called ashwagandha. I love ashwagandha. It helps me with stress. It helps lower cortisol. Now, I take it at night. It's a very common thing. People overtake ashwagandha in the morning. It's not a good idea in my opinion.
Damn it, I do that too.
Yeah, so you want your cortisol to be high in the morning. So yeah, take your ashwagandha in the evening for most people. Now, ashwagandha helps me relax, right? What is better than that? A 10-minute meditation that I do. Breathing routine, gratitude, prayer meditation that I do every night. That has such a bigger benefit than the ashwagandha that if I wasn't doing the free thing, which is 10 minutes of breathing, then the ashwagandha it's just an add-on to that. So I think the biggest scam with supplements is telling people that don't have the basic 3 pillars of health, the food, the sleep, the exercise dialed in, that you should take a supplement. Now, start with the basics and then start to layer in supplements for sure.
What would you say is the main scam with these supplements? Would you say it's just that they're ineffective unless you do those things? Or do you think it's that they just don't dose the proper amount of ingredients that you need? Like the clinical studies show you need this much ashwagandha, but maybe they give you 1/10 of the dosage. Like what's like kind of the main scams with supplements?
There are 2 main scams with supplements. One is the dosages. So there are clinical trials with a compound like ashwagandha where they had the people take 600 milligrams. There's another clinical trial with 300 milligrams. So what would that lead people to believe? Well, you should probably be taking between 300 and 600 milligrams of ashwagandha. But because of this, fancy term, ashwagandha, it starts to go viral. People will start to sell a protein bar with ashwagandha. When you really look into it as 1 milligram of ashwagandha. Oh, a shot with ashwagandha, relaxing shot. It's 2 milligrams ashwagandha. It's not going to do anything. So that's a huge issue, is dosage. People say our electrolytes are salty. That's by design. There's a famous video of Logan Paul saying, it's not, our prime isn't salty. Sodium is the main electrolyte you lose when you sweat. So if you're an athlete, if you're lifting and you're trying to optimize your muscle function and your workouts, your electrolyte's going to be salty. So the dosage is really key. And then the other big thing is actually added ingredients. And this is something we learned as we built out our company. And we started to buy our own massive machines that we have now, because when you run a supplement, when you encapsulate something, they try to throw other ingredients in there that aren't there to benefit your health at all. They're there to benefit the machines. Common ones are magnesium oxide, titanium dioxide, and magnesium stearate. These things are really not the best for your health in many ways, but they're good to help the machines run, to help them the powder flow. Silicone dioxide, stuff like that. In protein powders, you see a lot of gums added to protein powders. And different people can have different reactions to different gums. I'm not telling you to throw away your protein powder, but go grab it. I bet you anything it's going to have guar gum, xanthan gum, gellan gum, or carrageenan, or a mixture of all those. And these gums can cause gut distress in some people. And they're not there for the protein powder, they're there for the machine. So that's been a big thing we've learned, and we have our own machine, so I'll run it into the ground. I'll just buy another machine if it has issues. I'd rather not put something in my body that is not there for me.
Is there something you did that was in the goal of health, like not in the goal of profit? Like something you did that was good for people that cost you a lot of money.
Absolutely. We do so much stuff at our company that is just for people's health and does not make us money. So I've been on calls with VCs and billionaires that want to invest in like our company, and it drives them crazy. So there's many things. One of the things I always joke about is we don't have a watermelon flavored electrolyte yet because I can't get the watermelon flavor right. We use natural flavor for the electrolytes. All this controversy about natural flavor, but when you use real natural flavor, think about a watermelon. It tastes watery. So we can't fully get the watermelon right. It's taken forever. We're getting closer. But we've had some decent ones in there. Anybody, if there were other people involved in my company or investors, we would have had a watermelon flavor a year ago because it would make us money. It's pretty good. Launch it. Okay. And the same thing goes for many product formulations that we're making. The protein bar, for example. We're making the best protein bar, real food protein bar ever. And when doing that, there's so many ways that you can increase margins that aren't optimal for health. When you look at many protein bars, they have these blends of proteins, 4 or 5 types of protein in there. Soy protein, milk protein isolate. And the reason is whey and collagen are relatively expensive. So these are good quality source of protein. I think like having a mix of them is a good idea. And when we scoped it out, they're like, well, if you want to increase your margins, you can throw in some milk protein isolate, some soy protein isolate. Nah, we're good. We're not going to be able to sell these in stores. You'll never see the Santa Cruz Paleo Protein Bar on the shelves of stores because we don't have margin. When we launch them, there won't be margin. My co-founder and I are big on getting people a good deal. Like we just lowered the price on our creatine because we get a better deal. And I think people are scared of doing this when they run companies because they want big profit margins, right? But in today's world where people want a good deal, you get the hidden benefit of like word of mouth marketing. So our electrolytes are better priced than liquid IV. Our electrolytes are better priced than LMNT, than liquid IV per serving. And we're able to do that as a small company because we go direct to consumer. We don't run ads. So there's a lot of different things. And in terms of like ingredients, at every single step of formulating a product, you have an option to go lower quality to increase your margins and bring the cost of the product down. But then it gets down to like, what do you feel in your heart? Is this a product that you want to take? Is this a product you want to give to your mom, your grandma? And I can see why certain people and companies, especially when it's a giant company and why would there be ethics? The ethics are make the shareholders money. And this is why I think companies actually owned by real people are going to continue to succeed and be sought after, because I have ethics right here. Like I just want something that I can give to my friends, to my mom, to my grandma that I can eat. And that's been a huge thing with our company, and it's been successful for us.
What's the one supplement you sell that you think everyone should be taking daily?
Magnesium. Magnesium glycinate. I think every human being should be taking magnesium. So I put my diet into Chronometer and stuff like that, and I eat a really good diet. I love focusing on it, and I'll still often fall short in magnesium. Our fruits and vegetables used to be higher in magnesium because our soil used to have more magnesium in it, and many Americans fall short in magnesium. In some studies, 70% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. And you can get it through dietary sources, but it can be tough. And it's so easy and affordable to supplement with a few 100 milligrams of a high quality magnesium. I like to take it in the evening, and it's involved in so many pathways in the body. There's really no reason to not supplement with magnesium, in my opinion.
Would you say that's the best supplement to improve your sleep?
Yeah, magnesium is heavily involved in the pathways that relax our muscles, and it helps with sleep. It can help with like restless leg syndrome, stuff like that. And it's really critical for our brain health. So for most people, magnesium glycinate is going to be the best form. It's a very gut-friendly form of magnesium. It's affordable, and I just like to take a few 100 milligrams of magnesium glycinate daily, and I think most people should do that.
Do you plan on selling the company?
I used to think when I started this company that, someday someone would want to just buy this for a bunch of money, and that would be cool, right? And honestly, that vision was there when I wasn't making an amount of money that was like great, right? I was making a good amount of money, but in my head, I'm like, oh, it'd be great to get this big sum of cash for everything I've built, right? And now the honest truth is my co-founder and I pay ourselves a great amount of money every month. It's not an insane amount of money. People make more, right? But now once you get to that level where you're able to travel, you're able to live somewhere nice, you're able to take care of some people around you, do fun trips with your friends. I walk into Whole Foods, I'm not looking at prices, I'm just buying what I want. What else truly for like my soul, what do I want? What do I want? More money? Is that really going to make me more happy? No. It's just not true. And I see so many entrepreneurs, honestly, like I'm almost like getting like I see so many people fall down this never-ending road of thinking that more money will help them. And it's this difficult, nuanced conversation because money is real. And when people listen to this right now, they go, but you made the money. That's why you're saying this. No, I'm saying you should get to an amount of money in your life that makes you very comfortable. You should strive for that. Any young person watching that should strive for that. And it's not $10K a month, it's more now. We have inflation and shit. You need more. You need more money. But after it gets to a certain amount, I can't put my finger on that amount. If you live in a big city, it might be, 30 or 40K. If you live in a smaller place, you can probably do, with less. Whatever it is, you should hit high levels. I'm not somebody that's like money doesn't matter. But once you get to a certain level, you will really start to realize why you see rich and famous people with so many issues, and you're like, how could this ever happen? They have money. And when I see someone when I see billionaires working, avoiding their kids, having marital issues, doing all this stuff, I'm like, oh, you haven't fixed the soul. You haven't, I don't, and there's different, we could get into a whole thing of like what that could be and how I benefit that, but getting back to the question of would I ever sell the company? Probably not is my answer, because the reason to do that would be a lump sum of cash. I would just rather just run this company and continue to do really cool stuff. As the company grows, we're able to do cooler stuff. We couldn't launch a protein bar that's going to be $3 a bar, better price than any real food protein bar out there 2 years ago, because we would need margin. Now we can pull moves like that. And it's like, I'm able to sleep well at night because I'm like, dude, we're getting somebody an amazing deal on a product. And I truly know it's a good deal. I'm not like, oh, this is a good deal, you should buy. No, I know like what it costs us and what I'm going to be willing to sell it to the customer for. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that people are buying our products and they're benefiting their health. And so sleeping well at night, having good relationships with my wife, my friends, my family, that's really what life's about.
It's fascinating. I don't think this podcast, as many entrepreneurs as we've interviewed, has ever covered this specific topic. But someone asked me recently, I did like a 10-minute podcast interview because the owner of this podcast studio was like, can I interview you, please? I'm like just a big fan of the content. And I was like, sure. I just felt in a good mood. And he asked me like the best piece of money advice I ever received. I was like, it seems like there are two options. You either get a cash flow business, move to Puerto Rico and just live your life, or you hate your life for 10 years and try to sell a company. But the way you're building your business kind of makes me think that like 99% of people should be doing that cash flow business route, where they're trying not to spend on paid ads. I think that's a big scam of it in of itself. And that's something you talk about, that you don't run any paid ads to your company, and it's ginormous. But the thing with that is if you're not focused on reinvesting everything into the business, then you can actually have room for margin and to increase it over time. And you never actually have to sell your company. You never have to compromise your morals to, some VC fund or some private equity fund that's going to be controlling you. But would you say that's probably the best case for most people, is like, don't build something, like don't reinvest all your money to build this huge thing and sell it? Like, you're not that guy, or you probably don't want to be that guy. Like someone like Mr. Beast, dude, like he reinvests all of his money, but like there's a lot of trade-offs with living that lifestyle. Like how do you think about that concept?
I think one of the biggest issues I see with many entrepreneurs is they think of everything like a tech company. I think Silicon Valley changed the game and people realized that everybody was going to Sand Hill Road and Palo Alto with an idea and they were raising a bunch of capital and speed running an idea. And that can work for tech, it can work for software, but people started to try to apply that to everything. Like, oh, you sell t-shirts or you sell, electrolytes, like run it like a tech company. Get some people together, raise a bunch of money, run a bunch of ads, and get your product anywhere or everywhere. It doesn't make sense for many industries. And then what really happens is you give up ownership of your company and people come in and they tell you what to do. And the simple truth is if you really have proven something and you are able to sell products to people you don't know. That's what I tell entrepreneurs come to me all the time. I'm running a beef tallow brand. I want to start one. What should I do? Try to make a good product and try to sell it to someone you don't know online. Once you do that, you've proven your proof of concept, And then people, the natural thing to do is, well, let me go raise a bunch of money because if I put a bunch of money into this, it will be successful. It's not true in all cases. And it can really mess companies up and they burn really bright and then they disappear. And to have actual longevity, it has to be a product-first mentality. And I told Lance Baker this a while ago, and I think he has embodied this, where I was like, dude, start your company, do your thing. I'm like, it has to be product first. The product has to stand on its own 2 feet without you. You're great. You do all this hair content. You're great at content. The product has to be good. Because any influencer can pop up and sell you some overpriced thing and sell a little bit of it, but people aren't going to rebuy it. People aren't going to tell their friends about it. And as far as how we run the company, when we get on a call for whatever reason with investors, I still take calls with investors even though we've never raised any money. It drives them crazy. They don't get it. They don't get that it's me, one friend, and my videographer. We've all known each other since we were little. That's how we're going to run the company. I'm not going to bring anybody else in. And we're able to all pay ourselves. We're able to do fun stuff. And we're able to make really good products. And it's all through cash flow from our business. And it creates a different business than one that would be funded by VC money.
Guys, do you think Santa Cruz is playing 4D chess right now with the investors listening?
No, I don't want money.
Multi-billion-dollar offer. But I'm joking. But why does it make sense for tech companies, though? I don't understand that.
I think with a lot of tech stuff, you have to move extremely fast. And also when you look at software as a service, for example, you don't have a lot of, you do have extremely high margins. So you literally just need to build a product that doesn't need a lot of physical backing to find the proof of concept. This is a physical product. It's very simple. This has been done forever. I get you this product. Do you like it? Is it a good deal? There are other products like it. Why would you go with this one? It's a better deal. The ingredients are better. With tech, I think it can be different. If you're creating a software as a service, for example, it can need some VC money and backing. Not that a physical product, you couldn't just raise a bunch of money and crush it, but I see it break a lot of people. Then it also breaks entrepreneurs. Or you just get completely voted out of your company. That happens a lot.
Seems like a lot of investor money seems like a Ponzi scheme of sorts. It's I don't know, if I bought into Santa Cruz Medicinals at a $10 million valuation, then my goal would just be to somehow get it to a $100 million valuation so people can buy out my equity. And then those people, it's you want to buy out their equity. I don't know. I've heard people talk about this. I don't understand it too well, but
I think there's a lot of truth in what you just said. Yeah.
Why is drinking bone broth good for Looksmaxxing?
Bone broth is a food that we have consumed forever, okay? You take bones from an animal that you've killed and you boil them down with water, maybe a little vinegar in there to extract some of the beneficial nutrients. And what you're left with is this very protein-rich substance, but it's also rich in an amino acid called glycine, which helps support skin health. And what many people notice when they start drinking bone broth is just this beautiful glow to their skin that they have. And people can sort of get that glow through just getting healthier in many ways. They'll start to notice that. But bone broth with its rich glycine content and a lot of those beneficial collagen peptides that are in bone broth, and you see a lot of collagen supplements nowadays, those can benefit your skin. And during the winter, I'm a huge fan of drinking bone broth. Just warm it up. It's delicious.
It's good. I do bone broth and ice cream. Have you
yeah,
tried that before?
I haven't tried that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What's your most controversial health belief? Or like maybe something that you believe about health that isn't scientifically backed, but just something you feel like is true?
My most controversial health belief is around seed oils. I'm not a fan of seed oils. And I eat them, like I'm not as strict as someone like Paul Saladino, who's like, I'll never touch a seed oil. I'll never consume one. Like I'll go to Chipotle in a video. I'll go to In-N-Out in a video. But I am extremely skeptical about this notion that we should consume seed oils because they lower LDL and thus they're better for your heart. I'm very skeptical. There's a guy out of Japan, Dr. Tetsumori Yamashima. He's a neurosurgeon, PhD. He's written papers on how he thinks when you consume seed oils that have been exposed to heat, that they lead to Alzheimer's. And now people are like, oh, there's no evidence seed oils cause Alzheimer's. I'm willing to go, you know what? This guy is extremely intelligent. He's a neurosurgeon. He's a PhD. Okay, that gives me some skepticism. Then you look at people like Dr. Chris Masterjohn, PhD, who's just on Rogan, and he's a mitochondrial health expert. And his belief is that seed oils can damage your mitochondria, and he believes mitochondrial health is pivotal for every function in the human body, including the development or eradication of disease with good mitochondrial function. So personally, I have tried going no seed oil strict for long periods of time. I've tried having some seed oils. When I eat seed oils, like you were saying like earlier, like, do you ever get acne? I get skin issues. I get some headaches. I don't feel as good when I have more seed oils in my diet. And so I think people should really listen to their bodies. And it's totally fair to say that the current research doesn't show that seed oils are going to cause, immediate inflammation, that seed oils are going to cause all these issues that people often talk about. I think that's fair to say. But I also have heavy skepticism about seed oils, and I totally believe this clip will be played back in 5 to 10 years, and people are like, yeah, turns out seed oils weren't that great.
And then what's one small thing that's a game changer that not a lot of people talk about? We might have covered it with magnesium, but is there any other thing that's kind of weird?
I think one of the best things for your health that people are just literally walking by, and just avoiding, is getting in the sauna. Almost everyone has access to a 24-hour fitness nowadays, and they have a sauna. Getting in the sauna is one of the best things you can do for your health. You're not just getting a sweat on and, your skin looks better. That's a cool benefit. But you're actually detoxing stuff like heavy metals, stuff like BPA, stuff like PFAS, and a lot of these toxins we're just exposed to living modern life. Sauna seems to help undo some of that by this sweating mechanism. And it also is going to boost your cardiovascular function. You're going to help even stuff like your natural human growth hormone production. It's very easy to do. It's very accessible, and I don't get why I see people leaving the gym without going into the sauna. I built one at my house. I'm so obsessed with it. I have a sauna in my backyard. It's so easy to do. It feels good.
Do you feel like it's just simulating the sweating from exercise, though?
Yes. It's definitely the sweating and higher body temperature is where the benefits appear to come from. But to exercise that much to induce that amount of sweat would be difficult. You could do jiu-jitsu every day in a warm room. That'll probably be a similar amount of sweat, but I don't want to do that.
It's probably because people were working out in the sun or doing exercise in the sun. And probably, I'm just thinking of our ancestors. That's interesting. Santa Cruz, if everything you've learned about ancient health, modern sickness, and human longevity could be distilled into one lesson you want people to remember, what would it be?
That's a good one. Let's see. I think the biggest thing with health is you have to start to care about your health. And most people do not know how good they can feel. That is the main message I have for people. You think health isn't important or the stuff that I do is crazy because you don't know how good you feel when your gut health is dialed in, your brain health is dialed in, your musculoskeletal health is dialed in. You feel like a superhuman. And if you felt how I felt, you'd want to tell everybody about it. So that's the big reason I'm passionate about telling people exactly how I live my life, what I put into my body, because I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I feel good.
you have no idea how good it could be. I like that.
Yeah.
I think the same goes for like making money. Just anything that is good in general. I just think people have no idea how good it could be because they've never felt it.
It's true. The making money thing's fascinating. I mean, I don't do like a lot of content on it, but it's like I think a lot of people have mental blocks in their head of making money. And I think one problem I see with like this young generation is I see a lot of people in the young generation that don't really believe in the United States. So they're not like proud to be an American. They aren't really fans of the United States, which I understand where some of that comes from. I understand criticisms of the United States. But when we're purely talking about making money and being financially successful, if we're talking to people that live in the United States, one of the biggest lapses in judgment is not investing into our economy earlier. So whether that means starting a business when you're younger or buying stocks. One of my biggest issues was when I was like 24 probably, I was still sort of in this like conspiratorial mindset of like, everything's going to crash. Oh, all this shit, doom and gloom, conspiracies, like it's going to all crash. So I was a little hesitant to invest in the stock market. And then I luckily got my head together, and you look and you zoom out a bit and you go, even if you bought stocks or invest into the market the day before some of these crashes, in 10 to 15 years, you'd be making money. So yeah, I bought a lot of stocks like after I kind of got out of that mindset, and my Nvidia is doing well. My Google's doing well. But a lot of this fear mindset, starting a company, don't start a company, all these companies, what is it? 70% of companies fail within the first 5 years. People will tell you this shit. And I get it, but if you go in with a scared mindset into trying to make money and trying to invest and everything, you're kind of fucked.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Personally, for faith, I mean, the best like advice I've ever received is believe in God, pick up your Bible. I fully believe in Jesus Christ. And then in terms of like a family and friends thing, like choose your partner wisely. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it weren't for my wife. And you have to choose that person intelligently. And it can be difficult. People can get blinded by this, that. But if you don't have a good partner in life, you're cooked.
What's one thing every man should look for in a partner?
I think the biggest thing that like young men should look for, I think are watching this a lot, and how to pick a good partner in life. I mean, you could look at the basic stuff of how they treat like the waitress, the waiter, people in service. How do they treat them? And then the other thing is, do they value their own health? That is a critical part of a relationship with another human being. And I think it throws a lot of people's relationships out of whack. If you don't align on health goals, if you don't align on the future vision of what life looks like, it's just not the one for you.
Well, everyone, this has been your guest, Santa Cruz. This is the Jack Neel Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
And guys, I will add as an aside that this man has been absolutely wired and healthy for 3 hours straight. I didn't see him take any drugs before he came in here.
No drugs.
And I've only seen one or two other guests do that. So
let's go.
I think he's actually fucking healthy.
Okay. Dude, I feel great, man. We could do more. Yeah, all natty.